Let me get all this. Oh no, we're not counting down again. Hello, thank you for the birthday wishes. I was like, Maria, welcome to Secret Scroll Squad. Oh my god. Where's my audio?
Well, we're moving on up to the east side, to the deluxe apartments in the sky.
Thank you, and thanks so much for upgrading. Okay, y'all know how on the live yesterday when I turned it to members only because I was like, how am I supposed to download this? I scraped Ray Higdon's funnel page for all of the videos intact, and they're uploading to the free Anti-MLM folder right now. It's the birthday gift that keeps on giving. Hit the like and double check that you are subscribed. Thanks so much for that, Aaron. I appreciate that. It's been a wild ride the past 2 weeks, I will say that. Hello! What are we going to do today? We are doing a lighthearted Beachbody stream. The Slay Squad has got Slay Squad got Rob Dial. Yes, that's his name, to speak for them. And that's what all the soap bubbles on the cover are for. Dial it up with Rob Dial. And it is a cheese fest. Let me just double check that my uploads are still working. I hope I didn't close the window. Faith Over Fear. 3 of them are in the folder. Y'all, and if you download these, do not download them to a phone. One file is 10. Day 2 is 10 gigabytes. Okay? Holy guacamole. And then day 3 got cut up into 4 bits. Like whoever was doing the streams for them, like they don't know what they're doing, in my opinion. IMO. Yep. Now I desperately want a cupcake. Champy, he's a little cupcake now. Yes, and if you are a member, you get the fun little emotes. So here we go. Let me where is it? I seem to have misplaced. Where's my stream? Let's go over here. We'll just quickly go to Facebook real quick. No, we won't. Interesting. Let me just pull it up in the correct Google Chrome tab because you know it will not work if I do it in Safari. Slay Squad, Rob Dial. Darren O'Lean is going to be speaking on the 26th, so that should be fun. YouTube recording. Here we go. Copy this. Unlisted. What a rookie mistake, Slay Squad. Nope, that's incorrect. Here we go. And we're going to go back over here. How's everyone? How's everyone doing? It is late. Y'all don't, you can do that. You can be on the replay crew. No biggie at all. I just wanted to stream on my birthday and have something fun and good that happened today. So that's why I'm streaming. Karina and her fam bam and Bam, the lawyer cat, came over yesterday and had dessert, and my dogs all wanted to go home with Leo at the end of the night. It was the best. My mom made me lemon bars completely from scratch. Oh my god. That sounds incredible. Escape Top Chat Purgatory with your life. It's way more fun in live chat. You're going to be able to see all the things. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I think I'm having is there something known as like a pre-midlife crisis? So I'm a little weepy, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be streaming. Share screen. Channel. Level up with Rob Dial. This is a Chrome tab. Are you serious? This opened Firefox? Get out of here. Who did this? No, we do not want Firefox. What is this? New. The only thing Firefox is good for is right-clicking. Okay? Here we go. There we go. We're back. We're back. Okay, well, I'm going to be down here in the corner. And I'm going to add, and I'm going to... Maybe I'll be down here in the corner. Hold on. Meow. I like the combo Ecamm plus StreamYard way better than Restream for now. At least it was a Microsoft Edge, aka rebranded Internet Explorer, 100%. Harper, Harrow. Oh my gosh, Harper. He was so cute, and the dogs like were in love with him. And it was the best. It was a very good Saturday. Did they have to dial into this meeting? Thanks. I'll be here all week. MLM now. The more puns, the better, honestly. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know what? Let me go halfway up on this side so we can see the comments. Hold on. This should be good. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, here we go. Holly Hillier. We can't hear you, Holly. We know you're there.
All right, guys, we are going to kick off this call. I'm so excited. So welcome, because this is a super special call today. And our guest, I think for most of us.
Should we have bubbles on the screen? Because I want bubbles on the screen. So please, stream, please hold. I should have done this beforehand, but you know what? It is what it is. Canva. Let's see. We need our bubbles. So we're going to duplicate this page. Perfect. We're going to delete this. We're going to delete Rob. We're going to delete the background. We're going to put our little bubbles on the screen. We're going to delete the fade. Pew pew. Minimize. We're going to have some bubbles over here. And then, hold on. I'm almost done. This is what it was like to have me as a student in your class, because I cannot be trusted to turn stuff in on time. Is this okay? Medicine. I didn't realize it was this late, but I guess I did. Okay. Hold on. Put a little bubble up here. Cute. Okay. Download page 7. Transparent background. Download. Did you download? Okay, let me upload. Brand. Overlay. Please work. Please work. Look, it's so cute. Oh my God, I'm done. I'm retiring.
Needs no introduction. Most of us listen to Rob every single week on his podcast, The Mindset Mentor. But for those of you who have not listened to Rob, let me give you a quick intro here. So Rob is a high performance coach. He is the author of Level Up and creator and host of the Mindset Mentor podcast.
Ew.
And with over 17 years of experience in personal development, Rob empowers individuals to overcome mental limitations and unlock their hidden potential. He is the creator of transformative coaching programs, including the Mindset Mentor University and Business Breakthrough, which guide people to take control of their futures and succeed in online coaching. And Rob's teachings have become a go-to source for mindset transformation. And I know they have for me personally.
You know what this is? This is Rob Dial having sent in his intro for Holly Hillier to read. And so she's reading this intro, which is why she kind of paused. And she is saying all the things so that we trust Rob and really believe that he's someone cool telling us all the shit. Oh my gosh. Y'all are doing all the things. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Tish, hello. You like the bubbles on the screen, Tish? It's in honor of Rob Dial. Hello. We're preemptively orange for Halloween. I'm like hardcore ready for Halloween. I'm not going to lie. My dad knows I'm ready for it. I've got new ears that Leo was wearing. They're somewhere. They're Disney. They're over there. Leo was wearing them as a belt and as a hat, and I was totally fine with him taking them home, but he did give them back. Yes. And we've got the bubbles for Rob Dial, because apparently I just want to be extra on this stream. So yeah.
As well. And drawing from neuroscience, psychology, and his own journey,
I'm sorry.
Rob helps his listeners, his readers, and those around him make meaningful changes and master their mindset for a more fulfilling life. And I know that he has done this for me on so many levels.
Has he?
Through his podcast. And he has a new book coming out.
No shit. Oh, I've got a new book. You should buy it. No kidding.
Called Level Up. And y'all, I got to read this over the last week, and it is incredible. And so I have some questions.
I promise not to join. I solemnly swear I am up to mostly good, and I will not join a multi-level marketing company. I promise. Although Charlene and I are going to do pottery, and I can't wait.
Questions that I'm going to ask Rob today that kind of will give you a little sneak peek into this book. And for those of you who have not seen Rob work his magic, like you are in for a treat.
Are we in for a treat? Really?
So Rob.
Thank you, Hermit. Unpacks 2 Halloween themed shirts as DC mentions how she's ready for Halloween. I'm wearing not one right now. I am wearing my Call Me Anxious, but Please Don't Call Me. It's the same company that I got my Halloween shirts from. And should I wear my ears right now? I can't because of these, so I'll wear them next stream.
Welcome. We are so excited to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so excited. Oh my God, I cannot believe that the bubbles go so well with your background. You know what? I want to have bubbles behind me. So please hold. Let me download another background of bubbles. Of bubble fluffery. Okay? Delete. Let's see. Elements. I want bubbles. I want good bubbles. Bubbles. Let's see. Oh! We can have bubbles as a like a loop. That's too fast. That's okay. I don't want to make people sick. You know what I mean? I need some good. Oh. Nah, these aren't that good. Are these good? No, that's going to make us sick. That's too. Come on, we just need good bubbles. Dear God. Do we have any more? I'm just looking for some bubbles real quick. It's like, why can't you play the video and look for bubbles? I'm not sure. You know, it's just, I can really only do one thing at a time, which I think y'all have come to realize being on my channel for, how long have I been on the internet? A year and change? A year and a half? A year and 4 months? Something like that. Man, there's no good bubbles. Man, I'll look while we play him. He's just so grumps. I just want to be bubbles.
Can you guys hear me okay? Is it coming through this microphone? This microphone right here, is it coming?
Oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? I'm just gonna go right up to the microphone and speak into it. You know it works. You are on a podcast. What is happening? You know what? On Zoom, which is what they're using because you can see the name below, like right look down there. This tells us we're in Zoom right now. So you can just go to the audio input and you can select your microphone. Wow, I'm really irritated. How is this possible?
Hold on. Yeah, I don't hear you. 1 second.
We do hear him. Holly, you've been in Beachbody for 1,000,000 years. Do you not know how to use Zoom yet? Holly Hillier, what are you doing?
Is it coming? Everybody else hears me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, it's just Holly having technical difficulties. Shelby, thank you for the birthday wishes. I found a Dachshund Christmas shirt with 4 of them. I need a picture. Hello, Raven. What's up? Going to catch up on 2 times speed. Good luck. Hello. Heck yes. Karina is slaying the crochet game right now. Seriously. Karina made me a squirrel for my birthday, and she made me a little plant, and she made me my mom a hanging plant. My mom has it hanging right at her desk. It's adorable. Oh my God, I love that. This is going to be annoying, I can tell.
Now you can hear me. Okay. Is it coming through this microphone?
Ew!
That one? Okay. It's working. Just want to make sure it's coming through the good one. What's up, everybody? Hey, do me a favor real quick. If you're wearing clothes, can you put your camera on so I can see your faces?
Oh, wow. Just, Rob, what are you micromanaging people's lives for? You just want to be able to look at people? Stop it. Who cares? Just start talking.
Because I like to see people's faces. I do better when I can see.
I do better when I can see people's faces. What about the people who are listening to you? Do they do better when they can see your face? Because I highly doubt it. Oh, they can't see your face. You just want the ego of having them turn their cameras on. Oh my God, is this what it means to be almost old? I don't know. I'm so grumpy.
Reaction. So anyways, Holly, thanks for having me. It's good to see all of you guys. I've been working with Beachbody people now. The first time I got connected and talked on a Beachbody call was 2017. So it's been a long time since I've known of you guys.
It's incredible. And I think for a lot of us, you've been a big part of our business journey. So this is really, really exciting to have you here. And you know, to kick us off, there's so many of us on here, right? We have the businesses and we have the dreams. But when I was talking with a few of the partners on my team, they're saying like, I know the things I need to do, and yet I just can't take the action, or I feel stuck, right? They're in this place where they see this incredible potential ahead of them, and yet they just can't seem to take that action to bring it to reality. And that becomes extremely frustrating. And so, you know, for the woman or man who's on this path and they know they have an incredible business ahead of them, but they find themselves not taking that daily action or not staying consistent with the actions, you know, where do you say to really start?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Good question. That's literally the entire book. So that's the reason why I wrote it, just so you guys know. So
that's literally the entire book. Okay, just push your book some more.
If you don't know my story, I'll kind of give you a real quick 30-second overview of who I am, where I came from. So I was raised by my mom and my father. My father was an alcoholic, and my parents got divorced when I was 10.
Content warning, Beachbody. Just realize we could get slapped at any time. If you don't want to be surprised by potentially whatever Beachbody people bring up, then this is not the stream for you. I appreciate you. Like, I'll take a pity but he may slime us. So yeah.
And he passed away when I was 15 from being an alcoholic. And
dear God.
Never went to therapy, never did any of that. And then at 19, I started in a company called 𝐔𝐒𝐄. If you guys have heard of 𝐔𝐒𝐄 knives.
Oh my God, 𝐔𝐒𝐄.
And most people quit 𝐔𝐒𝐄 knives really quickly. They start and they quit. And I was one of the few people who stayed, and I stayed for 6 years. I ran the number one office out of 750 of them, and I trained over 2,000 sales reps. And really what I realized is that we gave everybody everything that they needed to be successful.
Oh, did you? Are you fucking kidding me?
Be crazy. And I remember my very first mentor telling me, he said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And so it drove me crazy. Like, I have everything that you need to be successful. Like, why are you not taking action? And so I, in 2020, decided I
What happened? Hold on. I'm missing my pages. What is going on? Sorry, hold on. Is this what happened? No, this is an old one. Minimize. Did I? Oh, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry. I'm here. Sorry. I'm here.
wanted to write a book, and I wrote an entire book, and I actually scrapped the entire book and threw it away. And I was like, I don't like this. It's not what I want to put out. Like, it needs to be not like good. It needs to be one of the best books that exists in self-development.
Which is not yours. Thank you. His name is Rob Dial, like Dial soap. And so that's what the bubbles are for. And then the orange on the thumbnail is Beachbody orange or body orange when they still had an orange. And then the bubbles I just wanted the bubbles on there. So.
And probably ego was in there as well, but also just wanting to have something that impacted people. And so I looked at, I have over 1,300 podcast episodes, over 200 million downloads of the podcast. And I was like, what is it that I teach in the Mindset Mentor? Like, what is the sauce? And I realized that almost everything was tips and tricks on how to get yourself to take action. And it's just understanding your neurology or biology, why you're not taking action. And so the original.
I'm not taking action right now because you have awful internet service. I'm not taking action right now because you're super egotistical and I would never want to listen to you. I don't know what to say.
Actual title of the book, just so you guys know, and I'll tell you why I call it Level Up if you want, because I saw that in the comments, is like, why is it called Level Up? It was originally called Take Action, but that doesn't sound sexy. And just FYI, since you guys are all in some form of sales, you don't sell the plane flight to Hawaii, you sell what the destination and the vacation is going to be like. And so taking action is the plane flight. But when you're actually in Hawaii and you're selling the vacation and what life is going to look like, that's leveling up your life. And so there's when I sit down and write it, there's 3 parts of the book. Part 1 is why you don't take action. Part 2 is why you do take, or how to take action. And part 3 is actually neurologically how to change your brain to take action and create habits. And I hired neuroscientists actually go through the entire book and make sure every single thing was fact and cited in fact, to make sure that I wasn't just pushing something out there that was woo-woo-y and wasn't true. So I wanted to put something out there that was actual, true, and fact. And so the 3 reasons why someone doesn't take action, I found, is number 1 is their fear. And there's a lot of fears that are behind it. Number 2, why someone doesn't take action is their identity of themselves and who they think they are. And then the 3rd reason why someone doesn't take action is just because of their purpose. And so we could break down any of those that you guys want to, whatever you guys feel hits and resonates the most. And Holly, you've got a lot of team members. You could probably know which one hits most for people. But those are the reasons why someone doesn't take action. And I can break down all of them and tell you how all of them are false and how to work through them as well.
Yeah, let's start with fear, because it's so,
okay.
The fear piece is incredible to me, because I talk to people who are afraid of failure. And then I also talk to people who are afraid of success. And so it's like, I feel like there's so many different aspects of fear. So I would love for you to, jump in there.
Yeah, really interesting. So as I broke down fear, there's 2 types of fear that exist. And just in case you guys didn't know, there's only 2 fears that you're actually born with. So any of you that have children, the only 2 fears that were ingrained in your children in their operation when they were born was the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. So if you
Can I just say I'm sorry for his internet connection? Oh my god, it's so bad. What page is this? 8? Download. I'm like, do we bail now on the awfulness of this? Or do we continue? I don't even know what to say. I'm doing a new overlay because I put some bubbles around me too. Misinformation. This was alive, but it's not. Like, this is alive, but this video was alive. I just didn't. Look, we got more bubbles now. Yay! This is, his internet is just awful. Let's speed him up, I guess. Custom. Okay. Good luck.
You have a baby and there's really to move backwards, they'll put their arms up to almost catch themselves. It's just naturally to a human. So everything else is learned. Crazy part about it. So every single other fear is learned and programmed into us. And so when you look at fear, there's two different types of fear. Number one is primal fears and intellectual fears. When you look at a primal fear, and this is really going to help for understanding yourself, but also understanding anybody else that's on your team. A primal fear, what is that there is pain or potential death attached to it. So physical pain, death attached to it. With all of you trying to grow your businesses, there's zero pain.
Forget it. We're doing a different one. I can't do this. Hold on. We're going to do Rob Dial. How to Thrive in the Unknown. Here, let's do this.
So you want to make this.
Let's, we're going to find Achieve Anything You Want. Stop Wasting Your Life. Matthew McConaughey was on. Oh my God. This dude. What do I know? This guy has like 250 something thousand. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins shares his insights on identity in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Wow. This is super short. The Power of Positive Affirmations. Mindset with Greg. The main problem with personal development. That's him. That's what he makes his money off of. The key to healthy relationships. The psychology of taking action. This dude's boring as hell. Stop fighting. Here. Popular. Why you should quit your job. Interesting. How the law of attraction really works. Changing your life in 6 months. The 1% do this every day. This destroys laziness. 3 life-changing books to read. Interesting. He's just... Should we watch this one? This is short.
In case you didn't know, one day you will die.
What?
And I want to show you why the job that you have that you hate.
This bubble setup is... I've ruined it for us. Hold on. Let me move me down. There we go. Here we go.
Is a waste of your life. See, this right here is our childhood and our teenage years, and we have a lot of fun. And most of us usually get a job.
Does he not know that a lot of people live past 80 now? Or no? Did he just run out of room on his board?
Right around here at 20 years old. And most people will retire at the age of 65. Now, if we're lucky, we'll live all the
Oh my gosh, Tish.
way to 80 years old. Now, if you look at this, the majority of our lives will actually be spent at work. But a recent Gallup poll found that 85% of people in America don't enjoy their jobs. And in China and Japan, that number is almost 94%. Now, that's a crazy statistic. Most people hate what they do, but spend most of their lives doing it. Do you want to spend the majority of your life doing something that you hate doing? And just so you know, if you're slaving away for retirement down here,
Did you not? I guess we don't have a tripod. Okay.
you're missing the point. Because only 82% of people in the world will actually live to the age of 65.
What? Is he serious? Is that true?
And if you get to 65, on average, you only have about 15 more years left to live after you retire.
Okay.
And also, so you know, only 65% of people actually live into the age of 80. So don't stay at a job where you dread Mondays and live for the weekends. If you don't like your job, quit it. Find another way to make money.
Oh, just find another way to make money. Okay, good. Thanks so much.
It's okay to wake up tomorrow and completely reinvent yourself and become the person that you've always wanted to be. It's never too late to start. Now, you may be thinking, well, that's unrealistic because I have a family to feed. And what I want you to think of is this. If your children grow up just to be just like you and you work a job that you hate, guess what they will do when they get older? The same thing.
I mean, having food and clothing and a roof over their heads, that's kind of important. And then they can decide what they want to do when they get older. What kind of logic are you participating in? I'm guessing that you graduated from college. And so maybe I have no idea because my, higher level education is limited. But what are you saying? That people can only be like their parents because they emulate everything they see? Come on.
Do you want that life for them? Wouldn't you rather have your children watch you live a fulfilled life doing what you love so that they can grow up and do the same, even if it means that you make less money? Because no matter how you make your money, whether you're the CEO of a billion-dollar company or a janitor, we all end up as dust. And so it's with really great love and respect that I want to challenge you to rethink your life. If you're not happy with your job or your purpose or your meaning in life, change it. It's okay to make less money doing something that you love and not feel the need to buy a bigger house or a new car just because your neighbor did. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Don't fear being judged by people just because you don't have that great job title. Don't look back at the end of your life and see unfulfilled dreams or chances that you didn't take in days that were just wasted away at a job that you hated. Don't be so busy making a living that you forget to actually make a life, because life is so short. Do something that you love and be proud of it. And when you're not working, spend that time with the people that you love. Because here's the deal. You weren't born to just pay the bills and die.
Did you actually put a video on top of your face and not do an end scene? Come on.
You were born to thrive.
Were we? Here's my outro scene. Rob Dial, even though we can't see it because I covered it with a video.
How different would your life be if you just didn't stop? In case you didn't know,
Oh, God.
one day.
Stop it. We can't do the Beachbody one because it's freaking... Look at all these bubbles. I freaking love it. Because let's see. Rob Dial. Let's look for filters. I want something over 20 minutes. And I want something posted this month. Do I want to listen to Rob Dial talk about making better decisions? Not really. Time management hacks, how to be more productive. That sounds boring as hell. How to master your emotions, a guide to emotional intelligence. I don't think so. Pass. Okay, filters. Let me go. I want incognito mode, but Rob Dial interview. Tony Robbins and Rob Dial, the Mindset Mentor podcast, 7 months ago, 18,000 views, 1 hour, 6 minutes. Do y'all want to do tiny ribbons?
Welcome everybody to the Mindset Mentor podcast.
Okay, he's talking faster now. Let's go. Okay. Where's my bubbles? No, this is incorrect. This is incorrect? Wait. Okay. Let's do this.
Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial, and I'm extremely excited for today's podcast episode. To give you guys an idea, this episode, we are 1,400 episodes into this podcast, almost all of them solo podcasts, 7.5 years, and I've had thousands upon thousands of emails and Facebook messages and Instagram messages of like, hey, can you just somehow get Tony Robbins on your podcast? And we, after 1,400 podcast episodes, getting into the top 50 podcasts in the entire world, we have Tony Robbins, everybody. So Tony, welcome to the Mindset Mentor podcast.
Thank you, Rob. Congratulations on what you've done. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, what's going on?
I want to dive in and I want to talk about you because we have very similar paths. We've had different traumas in childhoods, but kind of brought us to the
content warning. No, look. No content warning. Just Tony Robbins interview. No content warning. We're going to talk about childhood trauma, but we're not going to let people know that they should be informed before they watch this. Great. Good job, buddy.
same place of wanting to help people. And so
What did I do? Rob, it's boring. Do the faith over fear videos not play? What did I miss? What? They play? Great. They're free for anybody, so I managed to find a way to look at them. They should. Yeah. Here's the. I think this is the Anti-MLM. I think that's the link for the free folder, but it should play. I think. I'm distracted. Yeah, grab free videos to react to here. That's the Google Drive. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Trigger warning, Tony Robbins. Happy to do it. I still need to put some more stuff in there, but I just put in 30 hours of Ray Higdon, so.
When I was 13 years old, I remember being in my mom's car and she was listening to tapes. And I was like, I remember in my head being like, who are you listening to? And she's like, I'm listening to this guy named Anthony Robbins. And I remember being like, this is the corniest thing I've ever heard. Like, I remember thinking this in my head as a 13-year-old. Then 19, I go through things in my childhood. My father passed away when I was 15 for being an alcoholic. And I discovered you or rediscovered you. I discovered you, I guess, in my own way. And
Oh my God,
I sold 𝐔𝐒𝐄 knives, and they started pushing personal development. So I started getting all of your books. I started getting all of your tapes and starting using it and realized, oh my gosh, this trauma that I have from my childhood that's kind of staying, these things I've got from my father and him being an alcoholic and passing away, I can actually start to try to fix myself. And it was really empowering, not having money, not being able to go to a therapist, but thinking I can actually work on myself and help myself. And through that trauma, then I started falling in love with teaching people what helped me. Like, I felt obligated to start this podcast because there were things that I felt helped me with my trauma. And I know you have a similar story where your trauma, I think, was kind of the catalyst to be able to do what you do. And so I'm curious if you could share with everybody, like, if we go back, how does Tony Robbins, who's been doing this for 40 years, become Tony Robbins? What did it look like in the beginning for you?
Well, I always love people. I don't know what it is. I have an affection for human beings. And, my mom would send me to the grocery store. My mom was a very interesting creature. I had 4 different fathers.
My mom was a very interesting creature, like subhuman. Listen, y'all know I get caught up on words. I don't know why I do. And maybe some people, like, it's not meaningful to other people, but how could you not mean something by saying that your mom was an interesting creature? Like, have you ever told us how many partners you've been with, Tony? Why is it like people who are who are women get shit on for stuff like this? I don't get it. I don't understand. I can't believe I'm listening to Tony Robbins talk about talk like this. You know what? I'm so mad.
But got to my 4th father, said, "Mom, I'm confused," and my mom never left the house. We had to live in a little 1,200 square foot house with 3 kids, and my father's lived in the living room. She had her own little separate bedroom. She's a very unique human being, but it really made me become independent because I had to go to the grocery store since the time I was 6, 7 years old on my bicycle and buy the goodies and come back and make the meal, and made me a very responsible person. But also my mom, unfortunately, used drugs and alcohol,
Oh my
prescription drugs and alcohol. And the
Content
mix was not
warning.
very good. And she got very violent. And so I had to protect my younger brother and sister.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Content warning, Tony Robbins. God. I know we did a content warning, but like seriously, what the hell? Why is this happening? Come on. Yeah. Yes, Tish.
5 and 7 years younger. And so I became basically a really good practical psychologist. I had to learn how to manage her emotions and her states and everything else. Because if I didn't, it got pretty extreme. And when I was 17, it hit its peak. She chased me out with a carving knife. I knew she wouldn't kill me, but I wasn't going back in that building. You know, she said I lied and I didn't lie. And she poured liquid soap down my throat till I threw up. And
What? Oh my God. Well, maybe we should have gone back. Maybe we should have gone back to the Beachbody one, because what is happening? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. Should that have happened to him? No. Could you maybe give a shit about giving some content warnings? Yes. God dang.
you know, smashed my head against the wall. I was already 6'1". I was 5'1" in high school and I grew 10 inches, really skinny, but she'd make me bend down and smash my head against the wall and I would let her because it was just, that's where it came from. So it made me just really hungry to understand what makes people do what they do. How do you help people to shift? And at a very early age, I started laying out what I was going to do with my life. When I was 15, I was like, okay, in my 20s, I'm going to learn how to help anyone change anything in their life, starting with me. And no matter if they're committed and I'm committed, I want to be and know I can help anyone, no matter what the challenge may be. I want to learn every skill I possibly can. And then in my 30s, I'll learn to do that with a couple people at a time. And in my 40s, maybe I can do it with large groups. In my 50s, like really large groups. And then my 60s, I'll either do something in the political environment to serve, or I'll do something in a philanthropic environment. But I'll have lived enough of a life that I can really influence people from a different place. And so fortunately, I've been kind of ahead of that schedule most of my life. Now I'm in my 60s. I'm 62, going to be 63 soon. But I've been doing this for 45 years. And
so if you have no idea who Tony Robbins is, some of y'all say Tiny Ribbons, and I'm not going to prevent you from doing that. My green screen is a little bit messed up, so sorry about that. Tony Robbins is a motivational speaker and large group awareness training person. Meaning he delves into the hypnotherapy kind of realm of controlling people, motivating people, etc. And he makes a crap ton of money doing this. He has huge political influence. He has huge influence with super rich people. He also has no guidelines for sharing stories because everything is on the table to be talked about. So what's interesting is we were following this doTERRA team that was using these large group awareness training practices to get the people on her team to stay in longer because they're visualizing like how to like what they were going to feel like and what they were going to experience and what they were going to see and what they wanted at different stages of their like essential oil journey. And that just feels twisty to me. Because are you still going to be able to leave? Are you still going to be able to leave freely after you've done all these things? I don't think so. I don't think so. I certainly do not think so. So, here we go.
45 years of obsession with how do you improve the quality of life? Because I live to see people get out of suffering and really enjoy their life. It's what makes me go. I don't have to work another day in my life, obviously, financially. But I work harder today than I did, when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so it's really, really fulfilling, to say the least. But I think we all go through stages. And I think it's important that if someone's going to be successful in anything, there's 3 patterns you've got to really recognize. Pattern recognition is power. And so the ability to recognize patterns where things that look like chaos to everybody else, like looks like I'm, destroying myself or I'm not following through. And people make these generalizations because they don't understand how human behavior and how the human mind works. But once you understand there's only so many patterns, you can start to identify a pattern. And then the second step is to start to use it instead of letting it use you. Stress is a pattern. You either use stress or it uses you, as an example. And then you get really good, you're good at creating patterns. And that's when you become really masterful. So if you see someone who's masterful at anything, they're great at picking stocks. They're great at pattern recognition. They know how to use it, and they know how to create patterns. You see somebody who's a great musician or great entertainer or singer. They know the way to use their face, their voice, their body. Certain patterns produce certain results. And they've done it so powerfully for so long with so many different types of environments that they're masterful at it. So I look at my own life and I said, that's what I want to continually do. And it's a never ending process of saying, how do I keep pushing myself? How do I do what I call deep practice? Deep practice is practicing without a net. Most of my skill happened because
Deep practice, practicing without a net. Well, guess what, buddy? There's nets there for a reason. Having stops prevents you from injuring yourself or having permanent things happen to you. So all these gurus out there. What's his name? Tony being one of them. They're like, you can grow more, you can do better, you can, be some kind of way better and faster if you remove all of the just quit your job because then you'll have no other excuses. Or we hear this in multi-level marketing too, and it's like, no, why don't you make the jump from one intelligent choice that gives you money that you need until you can do the next one if you have that option. So yeah, I think the stream tonight probably tastes like soap, but don't let that deter you from going ahead and liking the stream. And if you like kind of squirrel traily MLM content with sound bites and fuckery, this may be the channel for you. So yeah.
I get the phone call and the child is suicidal and I got to do something right now.
Oh my
or
God.
The adult. Or I've got, an athlete and they're burning down on national television. I remember the first time Serena Williams years ago and her sister was killed and she couldn't get on the court. And I got to help turn her around. I got to do it right now and the whole world's watching. So
You help Serena Williams? Oh my God, what is happening?
if I don't do it well, we're in deep trouble, right? You've got challenges. Or I get a phone call from the President of the United States, true story, and he says, Tony, they're going to impeach me in the morning. What should I do? And, President Clinton, I was like, well, I'm 31 years old. And it's tomorrow morning. Could you call me sooner? It's like, this is ridiculous. So, but because
he was an advisor to Bill Clinton. One, unexpected. I did not expect this squirrel trail to happen. Holy guacamole. I don't know why I'm itching so badly, but I'm sorry. I'm just itching. Did y'all who had the bingo card for advisor to Bill Clinton? Who had that bingo card? Who had that little bingo spot? Because holy moly. It's awful for him blasting all these things, and we're also learning a lot about, because he can't help but brag. He can't help but say, I'm special and I'm talented because I've helped all these talented people. Oh my God.
Because I had to produce results right then and there, I got good at it. I wasn't perfect, but I got really good at it. And I developed enough patterns now that I can help just about anybody with anything. We just did a wonderful study at Stanford. They approached me this last year during COVID, and they had a couple of people that went to my Date with Destiny seminar that had been clinically depressed. They came out with no depression symptoms. They said, this is miraculous. What kind of data do you have? And I said, well, I've got thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of testimonials, but no one's ever studied it. So they decided to study it, and they shared with me that, to give you an idea, let's just take depression. People go through different stages.
Do not, what? Holy shit. Here's what I'm going to say. People cope with their mental health in a myriad of different ways. I'm so grateful that I finally got unstuck from the high control group that is known as Young Living Essential Oils, and I was able to get the help that I needed before I did something permanent to myself. And I waited so long because medical care is shit upon in those health spaces. And Tony's going to say that you can control a lot of stuff with your mind. Some people cannot, okay? Some people, and it's totally fine. It's totally fine to be on medication, because guess what? The world is better with you in it than it is without you in it. That's what I'm going to continue to say to people.
Of life, right? In your, birth to 20 is one stage of life, right? And everyone has a different stage, but you're primarily receiving information, learning, growing. 21 to, let's say, 41 is you're the soldier of society. Now you go test what you were taught. You think you're invincible. You're going to be a billionaire 10 times over. You're going to have 10,000 businesses. And then you learn things are more complex in one relationship than you could ever imagine. And you're not invincible. And so you learn in that time period. And that's a time period of a lot of stress for a lot of people trying to figure out how to make it work.
Do y'all want? I'm going to watch this. I Am Not Your Mentor. I'm going to watch it. And do y'all want to review it on my channel? Well, not that y'all have to wait for me to watch it. I can probably rip it and then get clips of just pictures and play the audio, even if we get demonetized. You know what I'm saying? I never thought I was invincible. I missed that part of life. Yup. Bye. I'm sorry about the topics. Thanks for being here. Sorry about Tony. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Take care of yourself. Y'all hop out if you need to. Seriously.
If you work hard in the spring and the summer, so to speak, and now you come to fall, 43 to 63, that's a power period, because you've accumulated enough relationships, insights, strengths, skills, tools, if you've grown, that you now can really begin to have a reaping time in your life. And then 63 to 83 or 103, the oldest living people go to 120, is kind of...
I hate that his couch is off-centered, and not that it matters. It's an interesting room. I'm guessing this is at his studio that's supposed to look like a living room, because he also talked in this room for Matthew McConaughey's woo thing that he did. But the fact that... Now, does this matter to anybody? No, it does not. Have I always been like this? Yes, I have. So the fact that he's sitting at the edge of the couch and it has the arm, but he's sitting on an edge of a total couch, so you don't see the other part. Here, I'll take this off for y'all. Let me take this off. Look at this. He's in the center of his frame. However, he looks like he's more close to my side of the camera because of this little ledge right there. I hate it. I can't stop looking at it. I'm going to take lots of breaks because this is a heavy topic, and oh, I thought Karina was leaving. Yes, take care of your mental health. It's just, I'm going to take a break to try to lighten the mood, because this is Tony Robbins being Tony Robbins. I didn't know I was going to get this twisty, but I'm glad we can take breaks and pause and debunk this stuff as much as I can.
The final stage in that winter time is your chance to really be a mentor, because at that stage, quite frankly, you don't give a shit about most of the stuff you gave a shit about. You don't worry about yourself. You're not judging yourself so much. You know who the hell you are. And you really would just want to pass on what you've learned from your life, because you lived enough life experience. So everybody's life isn't identical, but we all go through these stages. And it's easy to get depressed when your world doesn't match the way you thought it's supposed to be. And when the world changes,
what about chemical imbalances in your brain? Oh, wait, that doesn't count. Are you saying that depression can only be if you're sad about the reality and what you want it to be in your mind? Sure. Do I wish my mother-in-law was still alive? Yep. Was that loss awful for our family? Yep. But there's also people who need chemical help via drugs that you get to see if that works for you with. And a lot of times, you know what the doctors are going to say if they put you on something? This is best used in conjunction with therapy. You're going to get the most out of taking this by working with a licensed clinician. Or you know what? Being able to move past some things in your life, working with a licensed clinician may be something that would help you. And now we're just listening to Tony be Tony. Oh, I worked with Bill Clinton. Oh, I worked with Serena Williams. Oh, people think I'm really important and I'm really good at making a lot of money. So trust me, bro or sis, whatever.
COVID, and all of a sudden you can't leave your house. This makes people lose what's called a compelling future. If you don't have, anyone can deal with difficult today if they've got a compelling tomorrow. But most people have lost that compelling future when they're being told the whole world's going to end in 12 years because environmental disaster, which of course is not true. Or you're never going to be able to leave your house, or you're going to wear a mask the rest of your life, and you can't talk to humans, and a bug's going to get you and kill you. Well, when there's that.
Oh, sit down. Oh, you already are sitting down. I'm just going to shake my hands like COVID's not a real thing. What the flippity flop are you talking about? Am I reading too much into this? I don't think I am. They're real fears because real people passed away from getting COVID-19. I'm like trying not to cuss right now, and I'm trying not to call them names. Well, so much for a light birthday stream. Let's cry.
Much fear, there's no compelling future. People go through a rough time. So during COVID, they said this would be a great time because what the research and meta studies show around depression is it went through the roof. Suicides went through the roof. They still are, unfortunately. And the reason is because there's that no compelling future. So
it's not no compelling future. It is losing your loved ones to COVID. Not only that, yes, it's also being isolated and scared, and there not being options for people to effectively treat something that scared people. It wasn't losing a compelling future. It was the fear of losing, in my opinion, loved ones. And also some people lost their jobs, their ability to make money and support their family too. It's that people that, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to try to play it and pause again in the future. No compelling future under capitalism sounds accurate.
They said, look, the best research we found, meta studies across all the studies shows 40% of people that seek treatment actually get better. 60% don't get better at all. And of the 40% doing, SSRIs, drugs, and therapy, they on average get 50% better. So they're half as depressed. Now, some people get totally well, some not at all, but that's the average. I said, well, that's not much better than a placebo. They said, you're right. And they said the greatest study on this happened 2 years ago on depression. It was done at Johns Hopkins, where they took people and they gave them psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and they gave them cognitive therapy for a month. And the results were 4 times greater than they ever saw. 53% of the people 30 days later had no symptoms of depression. There's been nothing like it, but it's an illegal drug and it takes a month of drugging and counseling.
A month of drugging and counseling? Did you ever think that working with a licensed clinician in tandem with something like mushrooms or whatever, or things that are approved by I don't know if it's the FDA or not, but medication that's been approved to take that could have this same effect, and that it's working with a licensed clinician to talk through things and be able to work through things and change some of your neural pathways with like conversation, and also like what he's saying, like, oh yeah, it's the magic mushrooms. He mentioned the counseling and the mushrooms. So like, what's the commonality here? It's talking with a professional who knows what they're doing.
Do that. So they used them as the standard. They used the exact same format, comparative groups that were doing journaling, gratitude journaling and so forth, to a group of mine that went through Date with Destiny. And the results were so insane that Stanford didn't publish it right away. They took the raw data and sent it to 2 other private organizations who had no idea whose content it was. And it came out the same. 100% of the people 30 days later had no symptoms of depression. They'd never seen anything like it. No drugs, no alcohol, 6 days. And then second,
no drugs, no alcohol. What then are you saying? That's supplementing someone with, I guess psychedelic mushrooms, whatever the proper term is. What does that mean, Tony? Come on, like, I'm not the smartest person in the room. Like, why are you saying stuff like this?
part was nice was 19% of those people had suicidal ideation. And at the end, there was 0 with suicidal ideation. So they just started a new study for 750 people. It'll be the largest study of its type ever. And it just works. When you change the way you perceive life, you change the emotions, you change your experience of life. I always tell people, you don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on.
No, false, false, false. What about, and I hate to always say, what about this? But they never talk about it. What about people who have had, and I know stuff happened to Tony, stuff happened to Rob Dial, the guy that who's supposed to be interviewing Tony. What about those situations? How can you say to people, you looking at your bad experience the wrong way is the reason that you're depressed? You looking at your trauma the wrong way is the reason you're depressed. No, thank you. No, thank you.
So if you're pissed off, you're only focused on things that can piss you off.
Hi, unidentified utopian. Oh, Tony Robbins is not my favorite person. Yep, he's not ours either. We were gonna be doing Rob Dial speaking to Beachbody. The internet was so bad I couldn't do it, and so if y'all do want to watch that though, the Rob Dial Beachbody one, I did download it to put in the folder, but I'm happy to put it in the chat so y'all can go watch it if you really wanted to watch the one from Beachbody.
Deleting all the things you could be grateful for or loving. If you're really happy, you're deleting all things that could piss you off. And so what's wrong is always available, so is what's right. So it's developing habits of what you value, what you believe, and the rules that drive you that really helps people to create lasting change. And a year later, 11 months later, they followed up and people still had changed. 51% increase in positive emotions, 72% decrease in negative emotions, all just published in the Journal of Psychiatry.
Nice. That was actually one of the big questions that I had.
Rob Dial's audio, awesome. Good for you, dude.
I was really curious on what.
Except you have a low buzzing. Never mind. Forget it.
As suicide and being the fact that past couple of years, the mental health epidemic was not good before COVID. And it seems like the crisis hotline is getting 3 times more calls than it ever has the past 2 years. And I've been to your UPW, I've been to your seminars before, and I've heard you say it many times, is that you've dealt with many people who have suicidal ideation and never lost anybody at this point.
You've never lost anyone? You're telling me you follow up with the hundreds of thousands of people who take your courses, Tony, and you're saying you've never lost one person? Or have you not lost the people who are paying you a premium to be their quote unquote mentor? You know what I mean? Amanda, howdy.
Do you feel like,
and it is good that people are using that resource as if it is not a good thing. Like the fact that maybe people found out about a resource that they had no idea about because of COVID and they're utilizing it. Maybe like they haven't had the opportunity to utilize it before, found it valuable, and so then they are telling more people about the source. You don't know where the growth actually came from or the stimulus that caused the growth of that information. We don't know. You're assuming, but you really don't know.
like the main thing is that like you're saying, that they don't have a compelling future of something that excites them. There's no, I guess, light at the end of the tunnel. It's like the phrase when you're going through hell, keep on going. It's like, is it kind of that people stop and they just look around and they say, this is how it is. It's going to be forever. And that one of the keys is to actually, so there's people listening.
He has 3 cameras set up. Look, I'm not jealous. I'm just like, okay, maybe I should do that. I can get 2 webcams set up and I could be like, angle, 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 I'm just joking. Boy, like the stream. Yeah, I hope so. Thanks so much. Alaskan Bee Tundra. That's a cool name. The guy has more cameras set up than a sitcom. Ooh. I do need a Caspian cam, and I could totally do it because he normally lays down right over there, and I could set up my webcam so that we could have a floof cam while we're streaming. I'm going to do it.
That are struggling, and they've probably thought about it recently, right? For them, would it be there needs to be something to look forward to? Is that the...
I'm not opposed to him doing this. It's interesting to be able to change your camera angles when you're bringing up a new topic. If you're going into more of a, like a monologue situation, as you change points, you change the camera perspective. I don't hate it. I do hate the one where it's over his shoulder looking at his camera and then looking at the Zoom screen, the Zoom screen. I hate that.
There's many parts, but is that the main thing where you're just like, I want to give them a compelling future that gets them excited to live tomorrow?
That's certainly one of the things, because anybody can deal with, as I said, a tough today if they have a compelling tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But getting people to that point requires a biochemical change, not
Mm-hmm.
a biochemical change like SSRIs. I'm sure you saw the cover of Newsweek just showed that they've done meta studies that show SSRIs don't work.
Oh, so the SSRI that I'm on and the SNRI that I'm on, those don't work. And yet I am better than I have been in a long time because I'm getting help. So they just don't work. Should I say this? Sure. Fuck you, Tony Robbins. What the hell do you think that you're doing? You name drop to say something to someone's audience that you are some kind of expert when you have no degree in psychology. You don't have a doctorate. You don't have a medical degree. What are you talking about?
That's not the source of depression. People talk better living through chemistry, and it doesn't work. And so
it just doesn't work. Just blanket statement. Have you talked to people that have been helped and are alive today because of SSRI and SNRI intervention and intervention from a licensed clinician? You numpty.
But they're still selling them, right? Still promoting because people don't know the alternative to that. The answer is a little bit deeper than that. It's, people get into what's called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is, you can take a dog or a monkey, and I don't support this, but researchers do it, and they'll put them in a room, and it's got 4 squares, and it has a little net in the middle, like a little tennis net, so to speak. And there's a red square, there's a green square, a yellow square, and what happens is the animal goes in and lands on one of the squares. Let's say it's the green square. Well, they immediately electrify. So,
oh my God.
when the animal's getting these shocks, he doesn't know what the hell to do. It bounces around, and all of a sudden it gets to the square next to it, and it stops. And this square next to it is yellow. It's like, oh, all right, thank God. So they bring the animal back, and now they electrify the yellow square and the green square.
Humans are not animals. Humans are not animals. I guess I would be willing to have a conversation with a psychologist. I'm getting emotional thinking about this. I know some animal testing has to be done, but it just seems like it's so inhumane.
Well, animal goes crazy, and the last ditch effort, it jumps over the net, and it lands on a colored square, different color, and it's no pain. It's okay. So next time you let them in the room, they just jump over the net. Then they electrify the third square, and you know where this is going. Eventually, they electrify all 4 squares. What happened?
But in like
When you get pain, no matter what you do. Well, you go into learned helplessness. The animal will start to sit in the corner, bite itself, and defecate on itself, whether it's a monkey or a dog. Now, the good news is you're not a dog and you're not a monkey. We can supersede that. But most people get caught up in that learned helplessness. And today,
no, it's someone making illogical jumps, trying to find the reason that they're in pain. And as you get older and your ability to process through things improves, you can unlearn some of those things that you decided kept you safe as a kid that you get to work through with a counselor. Oh my God. Sorry for crying.
the news is no longer designed to inform us. The news is designed to startle you. Because the only way they get paid is to get your attention. We're not in an information society. That died a long time ago. There's too much information. We're drowning in information. We're starving for wisdom. So today, if I get the right hook, I get you to click. I get paid even if the article doesn't match the headline. If I can say, you know, your child may die of drinking water, film at 11, you're going to probably tune in. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. That's journalism, unfortunately, today.
Did you know that there are ethical journalists now on YouTube and Instagram that lead with information and not clickbaits, and they warn people about what they're going to be talking about? And one of those people has like over 1 million followers, and this former executive news producer does the same thing. People do want information.
And the journalists are not bad people. I don't know how much journalists they are anymore. It's because it's more business, right? They're all trying to get our eyeballs. And they're all competing, and they're all competing for a shrinking market because there's so many different competing things for us to focus on. And so now you're in a place where most of what's coming at you is designed to appeal to the negative bias of the human brain, the survival mechanism. And so that's why most people get
𝐓𝐇𝐎𝐔𝐆𝐇𝐓𝐅𝐔𝐋 gives trigger warnings. That's awesome.
overwhelmed. So they hear all these stories, and now these last couple of years, the stories have been really scary for people. Like, we're all going to die if so you breathe on somebody. And so now what could possibly be compelling? So it's not enough to paint a compelling picture. You have to shift their body. You have to shift the way they're using their body. If I said to you there was a depressed person behind curtain number 1, and I'll give you a $100,000 donation to your favorite charity if you can describe their posture, I bet you could do it. What's their posture like if they're depressed?
They're slumped over. They're probably breathing really heavy, or really low.
That's anxiety, not necessarily depression. It's not that anxiety can't also be happening to someone who is depressed. There's people who are depressed who look fine. There's people who have anxiety that look normal. It depends on if they're in a slump or if they're having a panic attack. It depends.
Light and short. You know, their voice is probably low, and you know, they're speaking really slow.
Slow speaking, not all the time, except when you're doing large group awareness training with Tony fucking Robbins.
Shoulders down, slumped, shallow breath. Now, how do you know that? Because we've all practiced this shit at some point in ourselves, right? And felt that way. But if you take that same person and you change their physiology, bring their shoulders back, you change the tempo at which they're speaking, you change how.
I would love for Tish to like rip Tony Robbins a new one. I would love that. Or Karina, or somebody who's spicier than me.
Their voices, you change their movements with punctuated movements. That person's biochemistry changes. You don't need a drug to do it, and it has no side effects. And then when you develop the habit of using your body that way, then all of a sudden you have the habit of perceiving life differently. So what I do with people in my immersion seminars, they're designed to immerse people. They're not sitting and someone talking at you, and you've been to one, you know what I'm talking about. It is like going to a rock and roll concert, because there's constant change, movement, and emotion, because information without emotion is not retained. If I said, where were you on a 9/11? Even if you lived in another country, most people can tell you where they were, where they're standing, who was around them. If I say, where were you on 8/11? Nobody knows unless something emotional happened, because information without emotion is barely retained. So I produce.
What about people who are in law school and learn about the law in a non-emotional state, and then because they've learned it in a calm, setting for an extended period of time, they are then able to pass the bar exam. And it's not a situation where they have to be in fight or flight to retain the information or to remember the information that they're processing. Am I just not understanding what he's saying?
Tremendous environments of positive emotion while people are making these changes. So they change the conditioning of their nervous system. That's why a year later, Stanford study shows 70% decrease in negative emotions, 50% increase in positive a year later after 1 weekend. 1 week, 6-day program to give you an idea. So it's really changing the conditioning. If we can find the part of you, there's a part of your identity that's more than the things that you can limit yourself. There's a part of you that's more than anything that's ever happened to you or could happen to you. There's a part of you that is what's called soul or spirit, right? It's something that nothing can destroy. If we get you to tap into that aspect of identity, we can create a compelling future.
Okay, but you also have a body. They all say like you're just a soul. And if you can tap into that, your body can overcome anything. No, it cannot. People die from cancer. People die from being unalived by someone else. We're both a soul and a body. We're both. Oops.
But otherwise, we're just making pictures and you're not going to believe it. You're just going to go, oh, yeah, that's all bullshit, right? So that's why we put people through an experience that goes 10, 12, 14 hours a day for 3 or 4 days, because it's kind of like if I want to learn Italian, I can go to class in high school and college, and 5 years later, most people don't speak it. But if I dropped you in Italy for 90 days with no teacher, 90 days later, you're going to be speaking because we put you in immersion. So everything I do is immersion because that's how
I'm reading the study about SSRI now, and it doesn't say they don't work. It says they don't help as much for people with situational depression versus people with a chemical imbalance. Thank you, Christina. Oh my God, why am I so upset?
the brain really learns in a way that's lasting.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I like, there's many things I took away from being at UPW, but one of the biggest things, if not the biggest, was how on command we can create energy in our body. Like it's wild. I remember like the third day, it was like 13 hours in, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, how the fuck am I still dancing? Like, how is there so much energy in this room? And it was really, really inspiring because there's so many people that just, they don't think they have enough energy throughout. Oh, I'm so tired. And then they have this story that's in their head.
Tired, just think of it this way. If you got the greatest computer in the world and you plug it in, there's not enough electricity, it's not going to work right. Well, tired is the first step to being depressed for most people. Yeah. And most people are tired not because they're working so hard. Like, oh man, I worked so hard today. Well, what'd you do? Oh, I had meeting after meeting. I sat in these meetings, and I talked to people, or I make calls, or I sent emails, and they're like, I'm exhausted. Yeah. I mean, what's happened is we haven't pushed ourselves physiologically for so long that we've gotten weaker and weaker, and so we feel tired from doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so what
about people with chronic pain? No, you don't understand about that. Okay.
Learn when you go through a weekend like that is holy shit. There is a level of energy on command that's available to me that you'd never believe, but by being in the environment over and over again, you learn it's real and you learn to use it. And when there's enough energy, everything else works better. Your relationship is not going to be great no matter what tools you have if you're tired, because you're going to go, love you. There's no passion, there's no aliveness, right? You're not going to grow your business when you're tired. So a huge part of what I teach, even in Unleash the Power Within, UPW, by the way, for people not been, it's called Unleash the Power Within. It's a weekend. And on the fourth day, it's all energy. It's all about the things you do with your health and vitality. So you sustain that, because without that, nothing else really matters.
Yeah. And that was the crazy part that I always go back to, is it's like, there's no such thing as not having energy. It's just, I haven't created the energy within me.
What? What about people who have chronic illness? What about people who are working as a teacher and have to come home and work an 8-hour day at school and then have to work 4 hours at night getting their lesson plan for the next day and grading and shit. What about first responders? What about people in the medical field? You're telling me they're not actually tired?
And I can do it at any point in time. I'm curious with you, with that being said, one of the things that you always, when you're at the seminars is about making a move and having personal practice. And so if we're talking about, okay, I'm out there, I'm listening to this podcast, and maybe I haven't seen a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I should have a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. What's a personal practice that you have that like has stuck with you for years that gets you into a state? And I'm also curious if there's any new ones that maybe you've picked up in the past 1 or 2 years that you've discovered through research or just through yourself, of like, what's an old one that like works for you and it's been working for 30 years? And then what's like a new one that kind of helps you get into a powerful state that you want to be in?
Let me give you 5 little things that I did in my worst times. When I was walking and, Christmas Eve, chased out of my house by my mom with a knife. And, I spent the night on the hill, and then it started to rain. It was brutal. And so it's like I put a little plan together, turned me around. And I remember in 2008, when all hell was breaking loose, I had 100 companies at that time almost. And I was trying to figure out how to keep everything together. And I returned to it. But at a really fundamental level, the first key, if you're not where you want to be, is you got to feed and strengthen your mind. In other words, you're basically, whatever, it's garbage in, garbage out. We all know that, right? But Jim Rohn was my original teacher. And he used to have this simple practice. He used to say, Tony, every day you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. He asked me a question, I remember early on, I was 17 years old, and he said, because I was talking about some of the challenges I was having, and I wasn't getting any support and all this bullshit, all my wimpy little stories. And he was really kind. He just said, well, let me ask you a question. He said, if I had a cup of coffee, if you have a cup of coffee here, and he goes, your worst enemy puts sugar in your coffee, what's going to happen? And I said, you're going to have sweet coffee. He goes, what if your best friend or your parent or your lover by accident drops 1 drop of strychnine in your coffee? What's going to happen? So you'd be dead. He goes, that's right. Life is both sugar and strychnine, so you better watch your coffee. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And the way he used to say that is every day, take 30 minutes of your day and read. Not the shit that comes to you today, not the clickbait, where you pick up a book and you read something that has philosophy or psychology or skill, where you are immersing yourself for 30 minutes in improving who you are. He said, because if you do that every single day, it'll accumulate over the decades until you'll be at a point where you won't even believe all that you've experienced and lived. And I really took it to heart. And then I did it reading initially, and then I was spending all my time in cars. So then I started doing audio tapes in those days. It was before the days of YouTube and so forth. So, 6 cassettes with a workbook cost $300 some of those days. And I'm making $50 a week as a janitor. And I'd save up my money and go buy these things. And because I spent so much, I listened to it over and over and over. And I got.
Wouldn't you make more as a janitor than $50 for the whole week? Or am I out of touch with pricing?
The power of repetition in my nervous system. And so when you do that enough, you find yourself in a place where your nervous system gets rewired. That's basically what happened for me. I rewired it until I was living what it is that I was wanting for my life, what I was wanting to create for my life. So the practice of feeding my mind was the first one. And then the second one, and by the way, I call that net time, no extra time, because I'm driving in my car, I'm working out, you're cleaning the house, and you're still learning, right? You're feeding your mind. Second one is every day you got to feed and strengthen and demand your body. So I start every day. My current practice for the last 10 years plus, maybe 15 now almost, I guess, has been I start my day by jumping in freezing cold water.
Oh, the ice baths. Do you know, can I just say this? If you like doing that, fine. If you're not an elite athlete, it's not going to give you the same type of benefits if you're doing 3-minute cold plunge, like 2-minute hot plunge, 3-minute cold plunge, 2-minute hot plunge. If you're training, that might do something in terms of recovery in combination with getting enough sleep, getting enough protein in the window after you work out. Like, it's just, if you like it, that's fine. He's saying it helps his mental health, I guess. Okay.
And I don't do it because I'm a masochist, and I don't do it because I enjoy it. There's never a day I look forward to, never. But I don't negotiate with myself. I've trained it as a habit. It has a huge impact on your body health-wise. It takes the blood and pushes it everywhere, your lymph everywhere. You feel like $1 million getting out. Getting in, not so nice.
It doesn't necessarily push your lymph everywhere. I think you manually have to do that, or bounce, or like exercise, or If your lymph system isn't working correctly, what do I know? I just have one that doesn't work well. Maybe it does. Maybe the cold plunge does help that. I don't know.
Nice. But I don't go, oh, let me see when I'm ready. Let me, maybe in 5 minutes, or let me count to 3. It's just like when I say go, we go. And so it trained my body and my mind that when I say we're going to do something, this is what we're going to do. There's no internal negotiation with me. And that is a practice that's both physical and mental for me. And then, I have a daily.
So you're doing something physical so that your mental falls in line? Okay. You're not in the military. You're a self-help coach who makes a crap ton of money off of the people who think you have something incredible to say. And you are preying on people using disinformation, which I guess I believe that he's doing this on purpose and he is not educated in it. I don't know. Also, if you have lost your lint roller because you were gifted a membership, you can click on the link and join if you want to become one of the baby snark, a snarky, or a secret squirrel squad. And that allows you to have access to custom emotes, and the higher you go tier-wise, the more perks you get. So, and I'm still getting ready, fixing Discord and stuff like that.
Practice called priming. It's kind of a form of meditation that I do to feed my mind each day. Those things have stuck, but the overall theme of feed and strengthen the mind, feed and strengthen the body. The third one is finding great role models. No one is perfect. You're not looking for somebody to be a perfect role model, but you're looking what they're good at. And so I grew up very poor, and I didn't want my future family to be that. And so I was like, who grew up poor like me with absolutely nothing and became wealthy and did good works with their wealth? And I saw Sir John Templeton, who was not a sir. He was originally from a farm. He wasn't even a British citizen. And I saw him save 50% of his money. And then in the worst times, when Hitler was invading, Europe in 1939 in Poland, and it looked like the world was ending, the stock market went through the floor, and he took all the money he had and invested in all these stocks that were worth $1 or less. And, years later, of course, war doesn't last forever. Winter doesn't last forever. Springtime came. The greatest growth in history. He became a billionaire, first billionaire investor, international investor. But he did it by understanding in the worst times, that's when the greatest investment opportunities happen. That it's times of the greatest.
There's also something more to say about people going through the worst in their life and it not being about money. That's that cool story, bro. Someone had enough money to buy stock when it was at basically worth nothing, and now he's a billionaire because they strategically got in when the stock market was shit because of a world war going on.
This pessimism when you'll get your greatest opportunity. And so
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really do. I'm not going to cry right now. I'm just appreciate the birthday wishes. Thank you.
So he trained me to think that way, which helped me because I started my business in 1977, 78 when interest rates were 18% and stagflation, which we're probably moving towards. That's where asset values go down and prices go up. And that's, I had to build my business in the worst possible season. So it built muscle for me in that area. So again, I had some good role models. And then the fourth one is you got to get in proximity. It's a habit of getting in proximity of people that are doing better than you are. I went to work for people. I worked as a janitor for a guy, just so I could be around him. I'd read his stuff in the middle of the night, quite honestly, on his desk. I was just feeding anything off being around people that were 100 times, a million times more successful. And instead of feeling like I'm a nobody, I was like, I'm here to learn. So I got in proximity with people. I got in proximity with people in the stock business and ended up taking a company public and making $400 million because I was in proximity. When you're in proximity, you have power. If you don't have proximity, you don't. Bill Gates was in proximity.
Was Bill Gates in proximity with Jeffrey Epstein or what? All these people who say be in proximity with one another and only hang out with people who are rich because they'll understand you and your mindset and your goals and everything. You know what? At some point, you have to call shit out when you see it. And it doesn't matter if you have money or not. And people in these kind of groups that Tony Robbins teaches, they say that the only way you can grow is being friends with people that you would want to trade bank accounts with. And people are more valuable than what they have in their bank account.
To Harvard, he wasn't doing well. He did not write MS-DOS. He bought it for $50,000. His parents were associated with the board of directors of IBM. That proximity and proximity to computers,
Isn't that called nepotism, or am I wrong?
he still had to do his work.
Thank
But without
you,
it, it wouldn't
Sophie.
happen. And then the last step is get out of yourself by doing.
I had to look in 1977 when he was a janitor. Minimum wage was $2.30 an hour. So $50 a week for part-time does add up. Thank you.
Doing more for others than yourself. It's like, if I can focus on giving more than receiving, that'll shift. So I started working back then. I'd go and literally had no money myself, but I'd go feed people at the local
Worth isn't based on net worth.
Salvation Army place, during lunchtime and so forth, and volunteer my time.
Yep, we talked about it earlier on in the stream, Amzi. We're gonna like look at it together. And I need to figure it out. Either we watch it separately and we can talk about it, and I can do like screenshots from the show, and I could even record the whole thing and put it through my transcript thing so we could read it and react to the bad parts.
It made me remember, hey, I got it better than I think I do. And it also made me remind myself that life's not just about me, it's about giving. So those 5 habits are still a part of my life.
This guy was also in the Operation Underground Railroad documentary on Amazon that Glenn Beck pushed. And it's called Operation 𝐔𝐒𝐄 and it was filmed in, I don't know. I know that Tim Ballard is in trouble right now, but if you want the crossover of the twistiness, this is an interesting one to watch. To see how they hyped up what they're doing and stuff like that.
On a daily basis, I have various tools that I use, like priming, like my cold water, like my workouts and so forth that I do.
You're an awesome parent.
The fundamentals don't change. What you need to do to have a quality life.
And you're an awesome friend. Y'all, if you didn't, Karina and Jack and Leo came over to my house for dessert for my birthday party, and Bam, the lawyer cat, came too. And like how good Jack and Karina are with Leo. Like they're such good parents. It makes me angry that people like Tony Robbins and the people who make this circuit in these groups don't give a shit about the fact that your worth is well and above the money you make.
It's pretty fundamental. You take care of your body, your mind, your emotions. You got a great plan. You got some, role models that make it more real to you that it's really possible. And you're in proximity with smart people and you're constantly giving, you're going to win.
You bring up Jim Rohn, my very first coach. I paid him $500 a month when I was 19 to do one-on-one coach with me, and he sent me my first book I ever read outside of school. I don't even know if I ever even read a book in school. I dropped out, and it was the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. And I remember where I was reading it. I remember highlighting it in my car as I was reading it as well. And my favorite quote that he says is, "Success is something that you attract by the person that you become." And so my mind has always been set on becoming the person I want to, and I can see in my mind. And it goes back to also what Alan Watts says, which is you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. Like you can just decide to be somebody different right at this moment. And I'm curious with you, when someone has, I think behavior change and action change, most of the time for real, true behavior change comes from identity change. And so over these years of working with people, do you notice that
If you wanted to change something about your behavior and not lose your identity, is there room to do that or no?
the problem with a lot of people is that they're stuck in an identity that's a story that's not true, and that if you can break that or shift it, and they can decide to let go of that story and maybe start to shift into another idea of someone else and a different identity, that their actions start to shift from that as well?
Sorry.
Yes, without a doubt. I teach everyone that the only lasting change comes from identity change. So let's define identity for your listeners or viewers. Identity is, we all have a way of defining who we are. And the definition of who you are is also who you're not. I'm not one of those, right? So if I said to you, would you like a cigarette? And you used to smoke cigarettes 10 years ago, you're not going to say, what brand is it? You're going to say, no, I'm not a smoker. I'm not one of those. Right? As long as you're a smoker, you're fighting. It's like people say to me sometimes, I'm on day 12 of stop drinking or day 14 of not smoking a cigarette. And I say, why are you counting? So you can tell people how long you lasted this time. They've not made an identity change. They're going back. It's only a matter of time. So identity is how you define yourself. And what's interesting is, you can think of it as a thermostat on the wall. If we set the thermostat to be what our identity is, which our identity is not what we want, it's what we believe we are, right? Currently, not our desires, but what we're comfortable with, right? So if 68 degrees represents your emotional comfort, or 68 degrees is how financially comfortable, you may want more, but that's what you're used to is 68 degrees. Or 68 degrees is intimacy, how close you get with someone before you tighten up or push away or start to sabotage it. Well, that's my comfort zone. Well, if the temperature drops to 62, 61, 60, there's a point where the computer says, hey, what are you doing down here at 60? You're 68 degree. And you get this push, this drive, the heaters kick on to heat you up and give you drive to change. And we've all experienced that. We got so bad, it's like, not another day, now I'm changing this now, finally, right? Because you hit that. But what most people don't know, it happens on the other side. If 70 or 68 degrees is your center, and then all of a sudden you go to 78, 88, 98, 100 degrees, all of a sudden somewhere in your brain's going to go, whoa, what the hell are you doing up here? You're a 68 degree, you're not 103 degree, what the hell?
Right.
And the first thing that happens is you lose the drive, the heater stop. And the second thing is that's not enough, the air conditioners kick on and you start to sabotage to get back down to where you think you need to be. So shifting identity is the most important piece. But what I found that's different than most people is we're not one identity. You've defined yourself. When did you come up with your, if I say, who are you? People look at you kind of funny, but if you dig, they'll usually tell you a definition they came up with 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. They've not updated it. And so what I do with people, and the reason I can create change so rapidly, people watch on video and they're like, how the hell do they do that with them that fast? Is because you have multiple identities, you're just not paying attention. You've reassociated to one part of yourself. So there's a part of you that will always whine and complain if you let it. Right? So we can sit here and try to do therapy on that part of you and all that shit, or we can put in charge the part of you that kicks ass and takes names. And there is a part there. There's a part of you that won't settle. There's a part of you that finally says, enough of this shit, and will step up. I just get people to that part now instead of after months or weeks or years or whatever the case may be. And then we reinforce it till it becomes your core identity. It's kind of like, how do you know your dog? How do you make your dog your dog? What do? You name them. And you train them to come when you call. So what I get people to do is to name those identities and train themselves to bring it when they want it, just like you did with your energy. And when that happens, your life changes completely. Because identity doesn't take effort. Like it doesn't take effort to not smoke when you're not a smoker. But if you're a health nut, right? But if you're a smoker trying not to be a smoker, now you got this inner conflict, and now it's all about willpower, and eventually you're going to get stressed and probably smoke. So that's why shifting identity is so critical. And that takes immersion to do that. It doesn't happen with a conversation. It happens over days and hours of compression and focus, just like learning the language, right? It's got to be immersed. Otherwise, it's too little at a time to really have a lasting impact. And that's why everything I do is immersion, 4 days, 6 days, total immersion for people. I'm curious with identity. You've got some children, you've got some older children, and you also just had a new baby last year. So congratulations. And I'm curious, between Tony, 30, 40.
He just had a baby in his 60s. Wait, what? In Wikipedia. Tony Robbins. All right. Tony Robbins, Anthony J. Mahaverick, 63. He was married to Becky Robbins, 1984 to 1988, and Sage Robbins, 2001. In 1984. Robbins was a vegan for 12 years. And he developed mercury poisoning. In May 1995, Robbins Research International settled with the Federal Trade Commission over alleged violations of the agency's franchise rule. Under the settlement, RRI did not admit to having violated any law, but agreed to pay $221,260 in consumer fees. In 2000, Wade Cook sued Robbins for allegedly using copyrighted terms from Cook's book Wall Street Money Machine in his seminars. A jury awarded Cook a $655,900 judgment, which was appealed. Cook and Robbins settled for an undisclosed amount. Oh my God, SA? I'm just reading this real quick. Oh, and he's suing BuzzFeed in Ireland now. BuzzFeed News said they stood by their reporting and suggested that Robbins' decision to file the summons in Ireland was an abuse of the Irish court. What? Okay, where are your kids? Robbins has worked on an individual basis with Bill Clinton, Justin Tuck, Hugh Jackman, no, Pitbull. He has counseled businessmen Peter Guber, Steve Wynn, and Mark Benioff. What? Sage Robbins. Okay. I can't find the right stuff.
Years ago as a father and now stepping into fatherhood, what do you feel like might have been, what did you do really well when you're like, I definitely want to bring this in? And what are some things where you're like, all right, I probably need to switch that, because there's a lot of people listening that have children and they're helping them create that identity all of the time. And so are there shifts that you've made from, the new baby that you have? You're like, I definitely got to not do this again, or I got to make sure that I do this to make sure that you help the identity come out the most positive that you possibly can?
Yes, for sure. Well, first of all, I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids, give you an idea. And I was 24 and had a 17-year-old son instantly, an 11-year-old son instantly, daughter instantly, a 5-year-old son, and then my own blood child on the way. So I had quite a learning. I married a woman that was 12 years my senior. Yeah. And so she'd been married twice and had kids from different fathers, and I had brought them all into my life. So it was a huge part of my growth.
Why do you care how many people your former spouse slept with? God, you have no respect for women. Good God, man.
Growth alone. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're 25 and you're trying to change the world, and now you got all these kids all of a sudden, and they're all in different stages of life, I really had to learn and grow. And I'm proud of what I've done. And I'm super proud of my kids. They're all adults today. And, as I said, I have 5 grandkids. So my grandkids are all older than my youngest daughter now, who's 20 months old. Biggest thing that I've learned because of dealing with so many human beings, is so many human beings in the last decade or two, we've shifted how we raise our children. Every generation, tends to react to how they were raised. Mm-hmm. So baby boomers, were raised in an environment where their parents, went to war and so forth, and they came back, and and they had all these babies, and they wanted them to have a better life. So they told them they were great, sent them to college, gave them everything, and made them very much narcissistic. Not every person, but as a culture, it was more about me, and maybe my mission out there when I wasn't busy, making love, having sex, some mission out here larger than myself, because they didn't have to fight the war. There's an old phrase that says, art for art's sake is this philosophy of the well-fed. Well, they never had to face anything, the baby boomers. So they were focused on their spiritual development because they had that privilege, right? And they judged their parents for not being open enough or wide enough or whatever the case may be, right? But then those parents did not pay attention to their kids. They were totally protected initially. They didn't protect their kids. They're busy out doing other things. So the kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s were latchkey kids, not everyone, but it was a different generation. They were raised to be pragmatic. If you ask people, and they've been asking this question since the 60s in college, what's more important for life? A philosophy of life that makes you happy, or pragmatic skills that give you financial freedom? And in the 60s and 70s, 82% plus always said philosophy of life. In the 80s and 90s and 2000s, it was exactly reversed to pragmatic skills.
I got it.
So now those latchkey kids became the ones that overprotected their children because they weren't. And so their children have been raised baby on board. See, in the 70s, every movie about children was Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist, Then all of a sudden it's the 80s and 90s, it's three guys raising a baby. Babies are beautiful, baby on board. The entire philosophy changed to the entire focus is on the child. And that hurt intimate relationships immensely because they put the kids first. And then it also made these kids think they're the most important thing on earth. And so there's so many problems for young people today. When I say young people, millennials are now turning 40. They think they're old now, or they think they're going to become old soon. And the Z generation's fighting them about where they part their hair and all this stupid shit. But the point of the matter is, this group of people has really not faced a real challenge. COVID was their challenge. They were at home and the government sent you money.
Fuck off.
It doesn't happen that way in most challenges. That wasn't.
Fuck all the way off, Tony Robbins. Listen. What are you talking about? People don't experience the challenges that you had to face. Come on. I'm trying to add a Nightbot command for subbing. So sub. My YouTube channel here. Okay. Submit. Hopefully this will work.
2008, for example. So their idea of what's a challenge, they think if people believe something different than them, if they went to college, oh my God.
Yeah, what about the war, 1911, COVID, a fucking broken system? Oh, none of that counts. Yep.
That's dangerous.
I did just put Nightbot just posted the subscribe to my channel link. So you don't have to pop out of the video. I think you can click on it and join if you're not this isn't for paid, it's just for subscribing to the channel so you won't have to miss videos when I post them.
Culture that has been developed that does not have muscle. But it's kind of like if you're born in 1910 and you come of age at 20 years old, you watched winning World War I, you watched radio, television, cars, and you're ready to have a car, and you turn 20 and it's 1929 and the world looks like it's ending. And then you make it through years of depression to make it to, let's say, 29 years old. Now it's 1939 and World War II breaks out. So that generation that was called flappers, they were disrespected and they were irresponsible and they were weak as shit. That was the way they were described. They became what's called the greatest American generation by most historians because they faced the biggest challenges and they grew during that really important time of 20, to 42 years old type of thing. And so that generation brought it home and created a different season. They brought a springtime. The late 40s, early 50s, up until the time of Kennedy's death was a springtime. Then there's a summer where these kids grow up and they fight, Then there's winter. We have a big financial crisis and usually a big war. This happens about every 80 years like clockwork. And so when you understand these patterns, you start to realize that, listen, everybody's going to have their time to face challenges. Everybody's going to have their chance to grow.
Was COVID not a challenge? Tony? Was 9/11 not a challenge? Tony? Was racism not a challenge, Tony? Give me a break. Give me a break.
And I think millennials and Z generation are going to be two of the strongest generations in history because they're going to face some real challenges. They haven't yet. They think they have, but they
Oh, we haven't yet. Great. Just keep talking, buddy.
haven't yet. And we're going to all be grateful for them because they're going to be part of the soldier of society that helps us to grow. And their networking and their capacity to understand technology will be useful tools in the dealing with the kinds of issues we're going to deal with. But then winter's over and you got another springtime, another 20 years of different mindset. Winter does not mean every day is a horrible day. It just means the overall theme is more fear, more stress overall. You can have beautiful days in winter, but some winters are short, some are long, some are hard, some easy, but you don't go from reaping in the fall straight to the next springtime. You go through winter, which is what strengthens us. And I think this generation is about to face that. They're facing it right now a little bit, but they don't know. They think jobs are, you can.
Was 2008 not a challenge, Tony? Oh, it was a challenge for you because you experienced it, but it's not for anybody else because they didn't experience it. Oh, was anthrax not a challenge, Tony? Tell me more.
Quietly quit, because they haven't been fired yet.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing thousands of jobs start to disappear just in the tech business alone.
Yep,
And
Rebecca.
this generation doesn't know what that means. They think they can just dictate and they can have food on command and wine at lunch and things like that if they're in the tech business. All that shit's going to go away when the economy really tightens, and it's going to happen. So to me, the focus is, how do you get stronger? It's like, oh, I'm worried about inflation. Okay, well, inflation's, let's call it 7 or 8% overall. All you got to do is be 10% more effective, more productive. You can certainly be 50%, 100%. Can someone make, Jim Rohn used to say to me, could someone make twice as much money in the same time? Yeah, 10 times. Yeah, 50 times. Yeah. How? You have to become more valuable. You have to not say what I want. You got to say, what does the world need? And I got to retool myself to help meet those needs. And if you focus on adding value, doing more for others than anybody else in anything, you'll become one of the masters in that area. And when you're really great in that area, you build a brand. When you build a brand, people come looking for you. You don't have to go looking for them. And you're going to grow during whatever season we're in. They were asking Warren Buffett the other day, what do we do? What's your advice about inflation? And he said, don't worry about inflation. Invest in you. Work on you. When I first interviewed him, I asked him what the greatest investment he ever made. And I thought he was going to say Geico or Coca-Cola. And he goes, it was what you do, he said. I said, well, I do a lot of things. He goes, Dale Carnegie. I went to Dale Carnegie. I learned how to communicate effectively. All my ideas would have died on my lips. I wouldn't be who I was if I hadn't learned how to do that. And he said, invest in yourself, because if you can be the best lawyer or the best doctor or the best writer or the best whatever, it doesn't matter what happens to the valuation of the dollar. You're going to get plenty of whatever that thing is,
100%.
and you're going to dominate in the marketplace. So I think it's time for people to retool. Instead of being fearful, it's like move forward. So we all know people that have been through hell and back, or all hell's breaking loose, and they're unshakable. And it doesn't mean they don't feel anything. It's like they stay in the center of it and they figure out how to take advantage of the problem. You look back and during the Depression, there were more people became millionaires during the Depression than any time in history, percentage-wise. John F. Kennedy, everybody remembers, the president of the United States. Joe Kennedy, his dad, had $3 million in 1929. He had $62 million 3 years later. Because when things get rough, the opportunities are.
Tony Robbins. Oh my God. Is this supposed to happen? Was this supposed to happen? Of course not. How did this happen? How did this happen? Oh my God. Where? Not now. I'm going to make a new thumbnail.
Unlimited because everybody else is scared. So I'm looking to help people become more unshakable by learning, having a plan for their body, for their relationship, for their finance, for their career. And so now the last 3 years during COVID, when people trapped at home, it's like I wanted to help as many people as possible. And the stadium events I was doing were shut down. I couldn't do 15,000 people. They wouldn't let me put 100 people in the stadium. So I was like, okay, I built this studio and I'm going to go reach people. And so I've done all these events, but I did one event each year, and I'm doing one this year too, coming up in January here for free. 5 days for free. Total immersion, 2 hours a day, 2.5 hours a day. I say 2, sometimes I do 3. because I just want to add value to people. But we cover each area of your life for 5 days. And you can tune in from home. You don't have to travel to do it. You don't have to spend a dime. It's not partially free. It's completely free.
I love that. I love how no matter what happens, the idea is how can I make sure that I'm like the redwood that's centered in the middle of the storm and nothing's gonna take me out. And I think that what causes a lot of fear with people, especially with hearing about the economy, inflation, all these things, is money in general. And I know that for me, when I was younger, I can actually tell you a story about your book and how it changed my viewpoint on money. When I was driving my car, I was driving Bradenton, Florida. I was passing it. I was about to get off on an exit, and I heard you talk about the difference in the way that we view pleasure versus pain. And I realized in my mind that money, because, growing up poor and, my mom applied for food stamps and we couldn't get food stamps because she had a car. And I guess for some reason you can't get food stamps when you have a car. So we couldn't get it. And
What?
growing up that way and seeing her have to, during tax season and asking her for money sometimes and not being able to have it made me associate a little bit of in the back of I think it was deep in my subconscious that money's bad. Money stressed my mom out. Something that stressed my mom out is bad. And I remember thinking in my head, oh my God, I'm not making this stuff most likely because I'm actually probably afraid of it. Like I'm pushing it away because I see it as painful. And so I think a lot of people have a negative psychology around money. And with all the stuff that's about to happen, inflation, recession, all of this stuff, you've made quite a bit of money in your life. What has shifted in you and what do you think can shift in people to help their viewpoint of money? Because as you said, if they play their cards right over the next 18 months, they could be the biggest,
What?
probably the biggest financial gain that they've ever had in their life up until this point. So when you think about money and the psychology of money, how do you think of it? Do you think of it like energy, like some people do? Or like, what is the thought that goes through your mind of how to help people understand money better, but also change their psychology around money with what's coming up?
Well, I grew up dirt poor. We had no money for food. Probably the most significant event in my life, one of them at least, was when I was 11 years old and we had no money and no food, and it was Thanksgiving. So it magnified it. We went to Star, we had crackers and butter or peanut butter. But there was no, you're not going to have a dinner and everybody else is having that, right? So my parents were fighting and, my fourth father is screaming at my mother and my mother saying things to him that she'll never be able to take back. And, I could feel him feeling like he's failed his family, which he did fail to provide, lost his job and didn't handle his finances well. So we literally were completely broke. Mm-hmm. And there was a knock at the door and I opened the door, because they're fighting. I got my brother and sister in the back room, so they won't hear anything. And there's a guy standing there, like giant guy with 2 giant grocery bags full in his hand. And he had a pot he'd set on the ground that was an uncooked frozen turkey in a pot. And he said, "Is your father here?" I'm like, "Just one moment." So long story short, I go to get my dad and he said, "You answer it." I said, "No, it's for you, Dad." And I'm like so excited, like this is going to change our Thanksgiving. And my father gets the door, opens the door, sees the man with the groceries and gets angry. And he said, "We don't accept charity." And he went to slam the door and the man's shoulder was there. So it kind of bounced off of it and kept open and made my dad even mad. He goes, sir. He said, "I'm just a delivery guy. Somebody wants you to have a great Thanksgiving. Everybody has tough times and they want you to have a great Thanksgiving." My father said, "We don't take charity." And went to push harder. And this time the guy's foot, because he leaned forward, his foot was there and it bounced off his foot. So now twice he tried to close the door and my dad's getting more pissed. And then the guy sees me. And I don't know, I must have been ash falling because I was so excited. And I was like shocked and so sad. What's going on here? And he looked at me and I'll never forget this. He pointed at me and said, "Sir, don't let your ego make your family suffer." My father's veins on the side of his neck were bulging. He turned flush red. I thought he was going to punch the guy in the face. And my father finally got himself under control. He took the groceries, he slammed him down, slammed the door without saying thank you. And I remember I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how we could be so angry when this was a gift. And years later, I figured it out and it changed my life, is that everything we do is controlled by 3 decisions, including money. And the first one is, what are you going to focus on? That day, my dad had focused on the fact he'd not taken care of his family. Whatever you focus on, that's what you experience. I focused on there's food. What a concept. This is exciting, right? The second decision is the most important one, though. Whatever you focus on, your brain then has to decide what that means. And so my dad, I know what it means because he kept muttering it under his breath angrily for quite some time that night and the next day. And that was that he had not taken care of his family and that he wasn't a man anymore, right? So his life was meaningless. And as a result of that, the third decision we make is what I'm going to do. And my dad left us the next day. It was at the time the worst experience in my life because I loved him so much. He wasn't my natural father, but he's the one I associated to the most. And
Again with the digs about his mom.
But my life turned out different because I focused on there was food. What really changed my life was the meaning. It's like, this means strangers care. My father said, no one gives a shit about anybody. We lived in this, I thought was a wealthy town. It was a lower middle class town, but we lived on the other side of the tracks. So, you know, they look wealthy compared to us.
Teaching journaling strategies? What in the grifty grift are we talking about here? So you're going to pay someone $2,000 per month for a journaling strategies? Listen, I would teach you journaling strategies for like, I don't know. What could I charge? God, $20 a month? Come on.
And you know, my father would say, no one cares about anybody. But here I had evidence some stranger wanted no credit, was providing food.
His arm must be tired from patting himself on the back so much for being so perfect, for having life all figured out. Must be nice. / sarcasm.
And I decided someday I'm going to do that for other people. So it changed. Our lives were different because we made those 3 decisions differently. And I, you know, about when I turned 17, I decided I was going to go feed 2 families. It was a profound
That's awesome, Lanya.
experience. I found a family without, you know, God must have guided me to it. That was almost identical to my own. The man had left family with 3 children, with 4 children, but with a mother and no money. And here I am. I wore a T-shirt and jeans because I didn't want to go to be thanked. And I wrote a little note, said, "This is a gift from a friend," and wrote it in Spanish on the back, and delivered it. And it was one of the most emotional days of my life.
Yeah, I mean it's probably kind of boring. It's I think it's important because people buy from Tony. We know they buy from him because of his portfolio, because of his wealth, because of his things that are posted online about how much money he makes. I think that he's influential, and so is Rob Dial. So Rob Dial isn't obviously anywhere close to being as successful as Tony Robbins, but it's twisty because people pay him such a premium for his time, and I don't get it. Play.
And I realized, holy shit, I'm sitting here crying at the moment afterwards and going, why am I crying? It's like, well, because the worst day of my life just became the best day. Would I really been here feeding people if I'd had a perfect childhood and plenty of food?
Some people do. Sorry. Some people do. Some people do give back if they have money because they give a shit about other humans, and they don't have to have gone through the same thing to have empathy in their heart or to want to give back. I don't ever have to have experienced a 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree burn to have empathy with someone who has to get that taken care of and know that they're in pain.
And so then I grew from 2 families next year to 4, and then 8. Then I had a little small company. I got my employees involved. And eventually I got to 1 million, then 2 million, then 4 million people a year. And then I was writing Money Master the Game, interviewing 50 billionaires. And they cut food stamps, the SNAP program, they call it now. They cut it by $6 billion, which means every family would have to give up a week's worth of food if people like you and I and the private sector don't step up. So I called my foundation and said, how many people I've fed over my lifetime? I'd never really totaled it up. And it was 42 million people. And I was blown away and really proud, but I was like, what if I fed that many people in a year? My whole life in a year? What if I fed 50 million people? What if I fed 100 million people? Then it's like, what if I had 100 million people for 10 years and fed 1 billion people? And I'm proud to tell you, I'm at 950 million right now, 7 years into it. We're going to probably complete in February. And now the problem is bigger because of the Ukraine war, because of COVID, where they shut down all the travel. So in African countries, they've had no tourism, they have no money. And there are 45 countries on the verge of famine. And half of our food comes from fertilizer, and the WF doesn't want people using fertilizer. And it's not available because it's in Russia. So I'm already starting a 100 billion meal challenge. I raised 6 billion meals in the first week, more than my whole life. And I'm right now have a group that we've negotiated with us delivering fertilizer that'll produce 50 billion meals. And it looks like my 10-year goal might get done within the next year of 100 billion meals to fill the gap in what we're doing. So it's a long way of saying you can go from where you are to where you want to be, but you have to change your association. So I initially thought, I'm going to make a lot of money so my future family doesn't, have that challenge. But I'm going to do it in a way that adds value to people. I'm going to do it in a way that is worth tenfold when anybody pays me, So I focused on that. And then when I was 18, I made like $10,000 a month for like 5 months in a row, which
I mean, I think feeding people is valuable. I don't really love how egocentric he is. I mean, he's also trying to promote himself and what he's done. What in the world is going on? To feed people, I think that's great. I don't like Tony Robbins, but just because I don't like Tony Robbins doesn't mean that him feeding people is bad.
would have been like $1 billion to me back then. And I called my friends and said, let's go to Egypt and let's race camels between the pyramids. I had all these crazy dreams. And instead of getting love, I got rejection. Easy for you. Oh yeah, now you're rich. I said, I'm not rich, but I'm making some good money. I'm not asking you to pay for it. I'll pay for it. And I got pain, and I'm a love bug. So what did I do? My brain sabotaged. I lost everything financially. I went totally broke. I moved into 400 square foot bachelor apartments in Venice. I started feeling sorry for myself, and I hit rock bottom, thank God, at one point. And there's a point in which I was 38 pounds heavier. I was.
Oh, now we hate fat people. Okay. God.
So frustrated with my life and totally broke that I shifted myself because I hit rock bottom, because I started realizing who I am as a man, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, every way is so far more than what I was living. And so it challenged me. So I went on this run. I'll never forget. I said, I'm going to run till I spit up blood. I played this music from, I'm old enough to have had a Walkman, and this, you got to love your music then because you had one cassette tape to listen to. There's a group called Heart. And I ran to this music, and I came back and I wrote everything in my life was going to change. And I was like, if I could be smarter, should I? Yes. If I could be more generous, should I? Yes. If I could grow emotionally, should I? Yes. So if I grow financially, should I? Of course the answer is yes. Why would it be different than anything else? Because I was like, you're not spiritual if you're financial. And then I made $1 million the next year, from 38,000 to $1 million, because I just focused on adding value, changed everything, my body, my mind, everything. And then I made the same amount of money for like 6 straight years, even though I was building new companies, helping more people, because somewhere in my mind, more than $1 million a year, you're a selfish F, you know, what the hell's wrong with you? But truthfully, I was living at the Ramada Inn. My maid was living at the Del Mar Castle I owned. She was having a good time in my jacuzzi and my sauna. I'm on the road the whole time doing things. And then one day I was like, okay, if I could go from 38,000 to $1 million, I should be able to go from 1 to 4 million. How am I going to do it? And what really pushed me was I was about to have a son. I was like, okay, I need something that's going to push me. So I was living in San Diego, and I said, if I could feed all the people in this community, there's a man named Brother Benno there who used to make all these goods for the homeless. I said, what would it take to feed everybody in San Diego County? And so he went and put a plan together, and it was about $3.5 million, which to me would sound like $1 billion then. And sure enough, I made $4 million the next year and funded it. And that was when I was 29, I think 30 years old. So 30 something years ago. And there's now 5 centers. Brother Benno's passed away. It's still the #1 feeding organization in San Diego. And I funded the initial piece out of it. So the game starts to grow. And then now, you know, I got to a stage in my life that hopefully some of your viewers will get to at some stage, where money is not a question. And even the goals, it's like, I love serving people and everything else that I love, but like, what's going to really get me going? And that's when I was like, started setting these philanthropy goals. I want to feed 1 billion people. I'm lucky enough to have my own plane. So it burns 3,000 trees a year. I'm planting 100 million trees. I've done 71 billion already. You know, I saw what's happening with the subject no one wants to talk about, which is sexual slavery of our children.
Here we go. Here's the OUR.
And trafficking. I have huge goals now, and I do well financially, primarily to fund the things that I do that really I feel really matter in those areas that affect the body, the mind, the emotions of people I don't even know. And it's the most fulfilling thing of all outside my own family. So it's about changing what you link pain and pleasure to.
Yes, Nomi, 100%.
And I began to,
I think 71 million trees. I think he said million, but I could be wrong.
with pain to not having money, to pain having money, to F all that, I need to do what's right. I'm not going to let somebody else condition me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what's right. And what's right is to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. And so at this stage, obviously that's an area of my life that we've done well in. And I continue to teach people how to do well in that area as well. That's one of the subjects. If you look at your life, you go, what are the areas that affect you most? It's your emotional well-being, right? If everything else is great and you feel like shit, life is terrible. You got $1 billion and you're angry, life's angry. You know, you got a great family and you're worried, life's worry.
He's making the point that if you have generous intentions and good intentions to give back, that can be the motivating force and the motivating like tipping point for you to make a shit ton of money. So you have to want to do something good with your money to make that money.
So emotional mastery, physical mastery, because that energy is everything. Relationship mastery, really where you have the relationships that matter, because that's where the most fulfillment in life comes from. There's the mastery of your career or your business. And there's the mastery of the spiritual side of your life. And there's the mastery of the financial side of your life. And so, you know, there's about a half dozen areas that matter, but most of us don't focus on them. We focus on all the crap in front of us.
This dude, this guy, this person, this boss dude, boss man, I don't know. His name's Tony Robbins. He's a large group awareness trainer, and he also has mentored big people in the political arena, in sports, in everything. Like every single area he helps people, allegedly. And he said earlier on in this podcast video thing that he was an advisor to Bill Clinton, that he helps pro athletes, he helps billionaires, blah blah blah. He is so wealthy, he owns his own plane. He's talking about him giving back to his communities because of what happened to him in growing up. But he's also, if you haven't watched Operation Toussaint, which, and again, OUR, I feel like, is being twisty. I think that child trafficking is a real thing. He was in the OUR documentary / film. Glenn Beck was the one that put up the money to make that when Tim Ballard was not in disgrace with the whole world. He had started that, and come to find out there's things going on that were over exaggerated and just twisty as hell. But this guy gives a lot of money, and I hope it's not just to OUR, but for trafficking, etc. Even though he's never mentioned labor trafficking, but go off, Tony Robbins.
I try to get people oriented towards those types of things.
I love that. Last question I have for you. This is selfish to ask it because I just got married last week and I know that you're married. Oh, thank you. She's over here with our dog watching on the floor because she wanted to be here. So
that's wonderful. What's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren.
She's
pop your head in here, Lauren. Let's say hello.
Come on, Lauren. Come say hello to Tony Robbins. So as she's coming over, I want to ask you. Here she is.
Oh, wow. Beautiful soulish. You can see if what's inside shines on the outside up there.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful thing. I mean, sincerely, you got a great radiance about you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you.
No, sincerely. Oh, what was the question?
So you're married to Sage. You guys seem to have an incredible relationship. And one of the questions I get more than anything else is on relationships. And so what do you think are 1 or 2 tips for people out there? Everyone's going to be in relationships with people throughout their entire lives, with romantic relationships specifically. What do you feel are the 1 to 2 biggest tips to allow you and Sage to have such incredible marriage?
I think a huge part of it is putting your partner first. Most people don't do that. They do it in the beginning when the chemistry's going. When the chemistry's going, most people like, oh, I want to light my partner up. We live to light our partner up, whatever it takes.
Has he ever said, like, I want that you're glowing to a guy? Has he ever said you're glowing to, or your radiance or whatever is coming through because blah, blah, blah? Has he ever said that to a guy? Has he ever said it to, I don't know, to people who have maybe whatever radiance he's talking about, who are in a body that's bigger than he finds acceptable? And 1, why would you comment on this, dude? Like, gross.
But then, after 7 years, 7 months, 70 years, wherever it is, someone says, would you take out the trash? You go, what do I look like, your janitor? Before it's like, take out the trash happily, whatever makes you happy, right? So it's like, if you focus on yourself, you'll always be miserable. That's the nature of the human mind. Yeah. It's like, what makes us happy is finding something we want to serve more than ourselves. Well, that for me starts with my wife and starts with my family. And if that's sincere and you get lit up by lighting up, if you can get addicted to meeting her desires and needs, and not just meetings, surpassing her desires and needs, understanding what does she need, what does she want, what does she fear. The more you can learn about that, you think you know about it, but it's going to change as you go through stages of life. As your life conditions change, there'll be new things. One of your parents may get ill. You may have a child, there'll be something going on. So there'll be things that shift. And when those shifts happen, most people don't keep that same focus on making their partner the most important thing. Or they start to measure, what am I getting and what am I not getting? The minute you start to measure, it's a trans.
Danny, long story long. I have watched a lot of Jordan Peterson content. Oh, God. Yeah. I don't know. It's a long story. Good night, Karina.
Transaction, the relationship's already over, right? Now you're just hanging out together. So there's no measuring. And you got to just notice the questions you ask. Some people's questions after years like, oh my God, why does he always do that? Why does she always say that? Why does this always happen? You know, my primary question I ask all the time is how to get so lucky to get you. I mean, my core belief is I've helped millions of people improve their lives, and my wife is the gift I got for that. That's my good karma. So I think it's.
Oh, so women are creatures. You continue to dehumanize them, and she is also a gift that was given to you. Eye roll of a lifetime. Look, I'm glad you have a great marriage. I'm glad y'all like each other. Should a partnership between two people, whether that's man and woman or woman and woman or man and woman or non-binary or whatever, like however what combo you want to talk about, like they're there because we're actively looking at, if you are even in a relationship, you're looking to work on that and be like work on life together. And it's not just like, well, I'm an incredibly good person and I'm going to be given the gift of a human being. What?
Holding the appreciation and respect for your partner, your desire to serve them. But it's also,
I haven't seen you in so long. Daisy is a anti-multi-level marketing creator. Let me see if I can do this. Daisy. Hopefully this comes up. Feminine and masculine energy, 100%, Danny.
you know, being in a place where you keep the polarity alive. And polarity is that opposite energy. Like, you know, every man has feminine energy, every man has masculine energy, every woman has masculine and feminine also. But we have a core. And in your intimate life, when two people get stressed today, most women become more masculine, are more controlling, and most men become more feminine, more pleasing.
Did you really just fucking say that? Did he just say that? Women become more pleasing when they're stressed. Oh, sorry, men become more pleasing. So women become quote unquote controlling, which may be just classified as speaking up for ourselves when maybe nobody else would speak up for us. Again, this could be with a minority group, depending on what it is. It doesn't have to just be in a relationship situation, but what the hell?
And women get tired of
Oh, I'm glad you're back, Daisy. We missed you.
any man that's a pleaser. No woman wants a pleaser. Men get confused by this because women want to be pleased, but they don't want to please her. Am I correct?
Women don't want a pleaser, but they want to be pleased. No, why don't you just stay out of people's relationships and, like two adults, people would have conversations with their significant other in open and honest communication style, be able to talk through things. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to be a controlling person because that's what women really want in a heteronormative relationship. Mer, mer, mer. What?
My dear?
Yes, correct.
Okay. It
Yes, correct. Smile and nod. Okay.
annoys them, it pisses them off, right? It's like you got to have enough strength to do what's right for us in a relationship, not just be mamby-pamby anywhere you go. If both of you become masculine or both of you become feminine,
Then what? Nothing happens. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Tell me what's wrong with that. What's wrong with that?
there's no polarity. It's like opposite energies on the earth.
Right.
And so when there's attraction, which you both clearly
I
have, for
didn't
each
see
other
that.
right
That's
now,
wild.
when there's attraction, your partner does something and you think it's cute. When it's not, it's like annoying. The same thing that used to be so cute. It's like, why does he always say that shit? Why do he always do that stuff? And so you got to catch it when it's little, like kill the monster when it's little. Don't wait till it's Godzilla eating your city. And so there's a stage people go through. They go through a stage of chemistry and everything's perfect. Then they go through a stage where they depolarize. It's not about each other. Maybe you're both stressed about something and you both get masculine to deal with it, or both get feminine. You lose that polarity. So you still love each other.
No, sometimes I'm the strong person and I can step in and do shit. Sometimes my spouse is a strong person. They can step in and do stuff. And sometimes we're both strong together and we can tackle big things together. And sometimes you're just surviving. Okay? It's not like, oh my God, we're not like in the right energy, so we're rejecting each other and we're never going to be able to come back together. Like, come on, Tony.
But there's not the same attraction. And so now little shit you start to feel a resistance to. And that resistance your partner feels even if you don't speak it, but you don't want to say anything. And it has nothing to do with your partner. It's your stuff. It's what you walked in with from past relationships or from growing up, right? But if you don't deal with it, the resistance will grow to resentment. And then now you like make a little off comment every now and then. And your partner's like, where the hell did that come from? Right? It's because you didn't handle it with resistance by saying, hey.
No, that's called being passive aggressive and not dealing with things when they come up. And normally in a healthy relationship, you just talk about stuff when it comes up. And if you can't talk about it together in a healthy way, maybe you go see a licensed, like a counselor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, so that you can work through things and communicate and be able to work as a team together.
Hey, honey, I don't know if you can feel this in me, but I'm feeling this little stress inside.
You know what happens with the stress? Hey, I am stressed. I'm nervous about the unknown. I'm nervous about going to the store and what's going to happen and if I'm going to be able to manage like being around people and A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, here's some solutions. We can order groceries. We can go at a different time in the day when there's not as many people. You could wear a sweatshirt and sweatpants and noise canceling headphones, and then you could be able to maybe handle that. Which one is the best way for us to walk through this? Okay, I'm going to choose option C. Great. Let's do that. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not a game. It's not like a game show. You can just tell and communicate. And sometimes you get to communicate and say, hey, you know what? Our relationship, it's not going forward and we're not healthy together. Maybe we need to separate. God forbid you use your words.
When you said that or did that, it has nothing to do with you. It's my old bullshit. So please don't take it personal. I'm going to handle it. You take responsibility, but you do communicate it.
Yeah.
If you don't, it'll get to resentment where it's like, why do you always say that joke? Why do you always tell that story? Why does it always take so effing long for you to get ready? Right? And then so that resentment now starts to create, not only there's no polarity, but now you're starting to push away from your partner.
Yeah.
And then if you don't deal with it at resentment level, keep it inside, it gets to rejection where someone will say, what the hell are you doing over nothing? And then you're like pissed off. Like, how could they treat me that way? It's because it was all this little shit that was built up. And then eventually some couples don't end with rejection. They go to repression. That's the couple you see at Starbucks sitting across from each other. They're both on their phones. They don't talk the whole time. And people say, oh, they had a great relationship. And one day after 20 years, their relationship ends.
Yeah.
So you want to keep the polarity, because if you don't, you'll end up with this resistance system I'm talking about, which will lead to less passion, which will feel like less commitment to one another, which eventually leads to a story we're not compatible. He's this way, she's that way. And that's the stress cycle that makes most relationships destroyed. The opposite is constantly nurturing your partner, making your partner number one. That's hard because most people make their kids number one. My wife, she had 5 kids in her family, mixed family, and they also had foster kids. So there were often 11 kids. And her mom and dad had a really simple rule. You're at bed this hour and don't knock on the door unless you're bleeding. And then, they'd say, mom's going to go wash dad's hair, which we kind of figured what that was later on, right? But they were the priority. They had their date.
I think because he likes listening to himself talk.
Night. And you think the kids would be less secure. They're not. They're more secure because they see that the parents are totally in love. And they have a model for what can happen in the future, which is not I'm first. right? That's the problem in relationships. Kids have been raised that, like, if they're not first, their parents have made the kid the most important thing. And well, why isn't my partner making me the most important thing?
Mhm.
And so two people want to be the most important thing, and gradually they drift apart. So you're at the early stage of chemistry and love. The other part is having some mission in common. Because my wife and I are both driven to serve. So it's like we not only love each other and our family, but we have this common mission of going and helping people any way we possibly can. Continue to grow ourselves so we congruently can help people because we've experienced it. It's not something we're verbally telling people, it's things we're living. So my view is make each other number one above your business, above your kids, above
What? If you're just listening to this, MF just wrote in the live chat, did you forget that you were the one to tell your wife that you will be the one who decides when or if she will have children? Your own words? Do you know which seminar it was at? Or like, was it in person and I can't get a recording of it because holy shit. Anybody who is going to be having, or even if they can have a baby should have full body autonomy. Okay. What? It's also a decision, you lint liquor. It's a decision you get to make with both people. And guess what? Sometimes those decisions are you have a lot more than, the 2.5 kids or 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever it is. Sometimes you have 5. And that's a conversation that both the parents have. And sometimes you adopt kids. If you can't have kids of your own, or you do both, you adopt and you have your own kids, or you have no kids. But it's a conversation you have together. Except apparently it's not a conversation Tony has with his wife.
anything else. Your kids will be more secure. Your business will be stronger if your relationship is stronger. Everything's affected by your relationship. And then number 2 is don't transact. Don't measure what you're getting. Just focus on giving. And then thirdly is keep the polarity alive. And if you start to feel those little resistances, deal them real quickly and own them as your responsibility to whatever stuff you have. Like my wife would talk like in the beginning of a relationship, she'd have this like baby talk thing. And I was fine with that. We had all this attraction, but then she did that in a meeting. I was like, I want people to know how smart she is. And like, I got all pissed off. And
Oh, so somebody can't be smart if they do baby talk? And it wasn't a reflection on her. You were embarrassed, Tony. First, apparently he's like, women, that creature. My mom was an interesting creature. No, she was a human being. Was she a good human being to you? Allegedly, no. But she was a human. You don't dehumanize the people around you.
it was all my own shit, right? It was like, I don't give a shit
Yeah, they had their most recent kid from a surrogate.
how she talks. I love every bit of her, right? Like you can let that stuff get in the way. And then you start putting, we call them stickies on each other, with labels on each other. And then you don't see your partner anymore. You see the labels and then the relationship starts to die. So like anything else, a relationship's either growing or it's dying. Same.
Or have you ever heard of floating? Maybe you could even float longer with a life vest if you are either waiting for someone to help pull you out of the ocean and you're not getting to sink because you have a freaking life vest on. Have you ever thought about that, Tony Robbins? There is a place in the middle, in the gray area, that doesn't live on the extremes of the pendulum from idea to idea that this dude is spewing on this podcast.
Here's your business. There is no plateaus. There's no in between. And as you got,
There is something in between. There literally is something in between. There literally is something in between. This, I don't want to talk about it, but this reminds me of some coaches I've covered in the past where they talk and they don't remember what they're talking about. They think that it's fire and incredible, and he's gone off a tangent for this relationship advice.
guys go through stages of life together, the life conditions are going to change. There'll be kids perhaps at some point. There'll be illness perhaps at some point. There'll be financial stresses. There'll be business challenges. There'll be all kinds of things you'll deal with. And when the life conditions change, you're going to have to update your blueprint of expectation, have less expectation and more focus on what you're grateful for in each other. And then you become the safe harbor for each other. So no matter what's happening in the outside world, this is the place you come back to together for love. And I'm so lucky to have an unbelievable wife, a woman I could never say enough about. Sage is the most extraordinary human being I know. And she's my wife and my partner in everything. So I'm glad to see you guys are beginning this journey together. And I think you're off to a good start, it looks like.
Well, thank you.
You can tell they're off to a good start because of that she's cute. You didn't ask them any questions about their relationship. You didn't let him get in a word edgewise.
Appreciate that. We've been together 9 years and we finally made it official. So it's good.
Well, you got some time under it first. That's nice.
We do. Yeah. And we had the polarity conversation 2 weeks ago. So this is perfect. I love your tips. We're going to be able to work this even more. Well, Tony, I appreciate you for everything you do and for your time as well. You've had a huge impact on my life, which is in turn turned into a podcast that has 150 million downloads, which has impacted other people's lives. And I think that you played a big piece of that. So I want to thank you for your time, but also for being who you are.
It's really been great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate you.
Blessings.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Nice meeting you too.
What did we just...
Trump's first impeachment trial is saying...
Sorry. Well, there she blows. That's Tony Robbins and Rob Dial. I thought Rob was going to do a little bit more talking, but apparently we are just understanding the fuckery that Tony spews. Holy moly. And where is our correct soundbite? Here we go.
We did it! We did it! We did it! Yay! Always team up. We did it! Yay! Woo! Hooray! We did it!
So Rob Dial, the guy that's the main guy on the thumbnail, he was doing a call for Beachbody in the Slay Squad. And the audio on the recording is absolute trash, not because it's not legible. His internet connection was awful, and you couldn't hear him for large chunks of time. And so I called an audible, pulling in the sports ball speak, and we watched something else with Rob Dial and Tony Robbins. So yeah, now they're both on the thumbnail. Grab the extinguishers. Tony is trying to burn the YouTubes down. So, yeah, Rob was hired by Beachbody people to speak for their team. So, are they paying him for the journaling class? I don't know if anyone's actually signed up for it, but I'm sure that some people do. Because a lot of people signed up for the John Maxwell Ray Higdon class. And one of them lost their job the next day after they had paid for the class, and they can't get a refund. What? Yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. But who coaches the coaches? Is it coaches all the way up? Good question. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna go crochet. I will be live Tuesday, maybe Monday night for a late night live stream. My spouse is here and he's going back to Japan Tuesday morning. So sad times. Oh, cool, Rebecca. Y'all have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I will. That's what my dad says. Oh my god. Except he says it differently because he got into a lot of trouble as a kid, but that's okay. Thanks so much. I will see you next time. Where's my outro? Every time. Goodbye.